If we should be live, if you guys can actually see us, let me know. Let me know if there's any issues. I'm not sure how that's gonna go.
I hope it's working.
Hopefully everyone can see us out there. Um,
Yeah, it's working.
okay,
It's
good,
just went live.
working. All right, let me drop the open here for you guys. I'll drop my open.
Welcome back to the
There we
Hank
go.
Strange Situation. Lifestyles of
Make
the
sure you
lost and
subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell so you can be notified. All right, so listen, we're live. This is going to be a live with Mac. I think
Hi,
he's
I'm Mac.
yeah, you're Junior,
I'm
Junior,
streaming to my channel.
Junior.
No shit. What's the name of his channel? Military Arms channel. That's me.
No cursing, no cursing
There's
allowed.
no cursing allowed. I went
Yes,
back in
behave
time. I got a
yourself.
little younger, but I got the same beard.
Yeah, what Mac looked like 50 years ago. So
Wait, how old do you think he is?
Mac is Mac. I think Mac is at 50 already. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
ask him when he comes on. He's going to be running a little late. He's at the range. He's finishing up some stuff that I'm sure he'll talk to you guys about once he gets here. So Babyface and myself will be doing it, and then I'm sure when Mac.
Should be like 30 minutes, and then Mac's jumping in, and
Yeah.
I'm bowing out when he bows in.
Right. So we want to shout out Harry's Holsters. I see him out there. He's sponsoring the show tonight. Shout out to Harry's Holsters.
I think mine's downstairs. I don't have it
Hold
on
on
me.
a second. What? Oh, Harry's Holsters is coming on tomorrow night, Lola's saying.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see him tomorrow night. I want to thank Last night was a fiasco. It was something up with the servers, right?
So yeah, so for anybody that's watching that tried to watch last night, YouTube's live streaming service basically just went kaput for a couple hours. So wasn't on Hank's end, wasn't on our end. YouTube just didn't work. There was no streaming.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it happens. I'm guessing they're changing a whole bunch of things in the background.
I have a feeling that either they're making changes or they got DDoSed or something.
Yeah.
Because companies no longer talk about when they have a denial of service attack. They don't want to like feed the trolls, so they just go, "Oh, we're having a server issue." So it's one of the two.
Yeah, yeah. So for everyone joining us on the audio and all that kind of stuff, including people joining us live here, it's episode 397 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. We can do jazz hands, if it makes everyone happy.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys have your big girl panties on. It's raining. It's pouring rain here
Let me see if I can
in
put the
Gainesville,
camera.
in
Hold on, let me see what my
Florida.
camera looks like.
And it's
Check.
let's see. Okay,
Can you guys see? It's
see the rain. No,
lights.
you got too much glare.
Yeah, too much glare on it, but it is storming. It is
Yeah.
absolutely pouring.
Yeah, it's raining real hard out there. So this is episode 397, live with Mac. Does the Second Amendment cover suppressors? That's the subject. I'm sure Mac will have lots of things to say about this.
Wait, what was the topic tonight? Does
the Second Amendment
cover suppressors?
Yeah, we'll talk about that and some other things. Probably some things we wanted to talk about last night. For example, we were going to talk about last night. There's some companies out there that actually had a Hillary plan for these past presidential elections, and one of them went.
Who was
bankrupt. Oh crap! What did I do with that?
We got to go see what the name of the show last night was going to be.
Yeah. I forgot the name of the company now. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up.
You guys
And,
hear the thunder behind me?
Yeah.
It is pouring.
If you go on the Firearm blog, you'll see it. It's I keep forgetting the name of the company.
I'm looking at. I'm going to go
They
find the
just went
video.
to
for yesterday.
bankruptcy. Let me throw this up there. Disciple gave us $5. He says for Lola to keep Hank away from the computer tonight. And let's see, for Disciple giving us $5, I'm gonna throw on something very special. Let's see if it works. Kaboom!
Can't tell.
Yeah, you can't see. You'd have to go. This is specially for Disciple. This is called Frank Strange, Frankenstrange, or Frankenstrange, however you want to put it. You can't see this Babyface P, but it has just changed my face into Frankenstein, and this thunder and lightning and everything on in the background. You can't
Very,
see
very
it. It's
exciting.
awesome. Yes, the people out there can tell us how awesome it is. Babyface will have to catch up to it. And then we got a thumbs down. I don't know. We got like 6 thumbs down. So thank
Yeah,
you. for
people are
that.
hating on us.
Ah.
There's no Mac. I don't like this.
Yeah, Mac he's coming in. He's just running late. We're not clickbaiting you guys. So what we're gonna do is we're not gonna do every Wednesday. We're gonna try to do the Wednesdays when Matt can make it. I was talking to him. I think he's wrapping up probably some awesome video that you guys will enjoy seeing. So I just know he sent me a picture of lots of AR magazines loaded with ammo, and I was like, just use your fully semi-auto trigger on that thing and burn through that ammo, But anyway, he's got to do that and then clean up the range and all that stuff and then get into the shop. So we'll see him here as soon as he can do that.
I'm trying to find those companies that were going under yesterday because I can't find.
You can't find it on the thing?
It's on the Truth About Guns?
Yeah, it's on Truth About Guns. Let me see. I'll pull it up. I'll pull up the. I have an article for that on my phone. Let me just pull it up. Okay, it's United Sporting Companies.
That's a United Sporting Company.
Yeah, so let's see. I'll pull it up here on the phone for everyone. So after betting big on guns in 2016, United Sporting Companies files for Chapter 11. And it goes on, United Sporting Companies, a large firearms distributor whose roots date to the Great Depression, filed for bankruptcy protection on Monday and said it plans to liquidate, hurt by failing sales after President Donald Trump was elected and as Dick's Sporting Goods, Inc. began to move away from firearms. United owns...
this is... sorry, go finish that thought.
Yeah,
sorry.
United
Ellett
owns
Brothers.
longtime distributor Ellett Brothers, which is embroiled in a lawsuit over allegations that the parent company drained it of cash. United also bought some of the remaining assets of bankrupt distributor AccuSports a year ago. In addition, United reportedly made a big bet based on the outcome of the 2016 election, according to Bloomberg. So the article here goes on. Go ahead, Babyface. Sorry about that.
I bought some stuff from them back when I was working for the gun store.
Okay.
Because they went out of business, and I guess I could talk about some of that now because it doesn't matter. Like an L-Cam that I sold. By the way, I just sold my L-Cam for anybody curious. They were closing out. AccuSport was closing out, and they had them marked down to like $1,000 a piece. So yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me. Ellett Brothers, I thought was still doing all right. I didn't realize they were closing their doors as well.
Yeah. So if you look at if you go to the website, you'll see the different companies. But Ellett Brothers, AccuSports.
Chapter 11 is just restructuring. It's not that they're closing their doors, right? That's how that works, I think.
But from what it says there just now, it looks like they're going to liquidate. I mean, I don't know how that's actually going to wind up playing out, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on with that. As I said, we'll talk about that. I think, look, lots of companies had this crazy Hillary plan before the election, and they went out there and bought a ton of AR-15s, thinking, oh, these AR-15s we bought for $150, we'll sell these for $1,000, $2,000 as soon as Hillary becomes elected.
Yeah,
and yeah, it could have paid off because apparently it seems to me, this is my theory, the gun folks out there, not you, not the folks out there that are watching this now, but lots of gun people out there don't get activated unless it's someone in the White House that scares the crap out of them.
It's such a shame. It really is such a shame that we can't continue pushing when we have all of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's so ridiculous that then our politicians that we put in there said, oh, no, well, you got to wait till the midterms. And then, oh, we lost everything, so never mind.
They had everything they needed. They had everything they needed to, that they needed to take suppressors off the NFA, all that kind of stuff. That's part of what we're going to talk about here. I got a bunch of suppressors here with me right now. I got like 4 of my suppressors. This is not all the suppressors. You know what? With these in my hand, I could actually tell what's light and what's not right now. But I got a bunch of, let me see. I think I got 2 9mm suppressors. One's a Liberty. The other one's from PTP. You and I both have one of these. This is the Doomsday.
Oh, yeah. It's still at the house.
Yeah.
At your place. At my SOT. My SOT is holding on to that for me.
Yeah.
And maybe if luck is not in our favor, maybe Hank is going to just inherit those when I can't actually take possession of them.
Yeah, if you don't get that money together.
I know.
I'm going to start burning down those suppressors for you. This is I think this is actually my first suppressor right here.
That thing has seen some use.
Yeah,
you got a nice scar on your arm from it.
Yeah.
They've got a nice burn.
Oh, yeah, I
from
do.
that thing.
I do. So, Surefire. This is SOCOM Mini right here. Actually, pretty good 30 cal suppressor. I like it. It has to. One of the things is this needs those. You need the muzzle devices, so either flash hider or muzzle brake or something to use these. But it's pretty cool. I think you were shooting this the other day.
We've shot it. The last couple times I've used it, I think I used it on. Man, there's a video of us shooting the Keltec RDB, and that was on it. I think we shot the RDB with that on it.
Yeah. So, this is the thing. So this is the thing. Even when you were using it, now this is the thing about suppressors, and I'm sure Mac is going to get into this when he gets here. Oh, by the way, before I forget, Harry's Holsters, use the code Hank Strange, right, Lola? Hank Strange. That gets you 10% off at Harry's Holsters. The Babyface P and I both use. Hold on, let me see. I'm going to go pants on the ground for a second. Come in. There's my Harry's holster. I got mine on me. Babyface P, you got one somewhere.
It's downstairs. It's on the
What
table.
are you doing? You're supposed to be. You're supposed to be carrying at all times.
Listen,
carry,
I got defense up here. We're fine.
Oh well, okay then that's fine. Yeah, you do home carry though, right?
At home, yeah, most of the time.
Okay.
Well,
All
if I'm sitting at my desk, I have one on my desk. I have one on the wall. I don't need it on my belt, so I usually take it off and put it on the desk.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So, make sure you guys check out Harry's Holsters. Here's what I was going to say about suppressors. It's not just for your hearing when you're shooting. And I don't think, especially even these cans, no matter how good they are, you're going to need air protection.
Mm-hmm. Like the little short ones are still really loud, like that K one that you have.
Yeah. Now, like a 20. Okay, this 9mm is not bad. This is a nice long 9mm from PTP, but I mean, you're still going to hear something. And I would suggest if you're doing a lot of shooting, wear air protection. Unless you're shooting like 22s and it's already subsonic. But here's the thing: it's really nice for your neighbors.
That's the big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Harry's Holster says Babyface has a krill on the wall.
Has a crink, maybe?
Crink. You probably meant crink. Yeah. So here's the thing. When I was in the house and you guys were shooting, I could tell when you went suppressed. Very nice. I don't think I could hear it. When you were shooting unsuppressed, I was like, oh.
Big difference.
Yeah, and Lola was like, oh, I could hear the shooting from the range. It's louder without all the... Remember we had all those trees behind the berms? So, I think that's the good thing right there, right? Everyone should have suppressors. It should be a lot easier than it is. But obviously now we're facing things. So, like in the Supreme Court, that's one of the things I was going to talk about. Did you see that thing? The Supreme...
They're not going to take up the suppressor
everyone saw
clause.
that, yeah. Yeah, they don't want to take it up.
I don't necessarily blame them. I mean, there's only so much room on the docket for them, so I sort of understand.
Yeah, they don't take up everything that comes up, so that's one right there.
I hope that because they are taking up a 2A case coming soon, pretty soon.
They which one? Do you know? Is it the New York thing?
I think it was New York versus somebody.
Yeah.
I hope that would expand some of our rights because Heller versus DC, they went just shy of giving us what we needed. So I'm hoping that will expand some of the rights, and then by passive just coincidence, these should fall into that as well because they are considered a firearm. This is in my hand is considered a firearm because it's a serialized firearm. It's stupid, but they should be covered in the same as the Second Amendment.
Yeah, if they're not, see, this is the thing that we really want to debate here because even I myself was like, okay, where is this on the spectrum? Because if you not only have to have a background check, but you have to do a whole bunch of paperwork, pay a tax stamp, and go through extra hoops to get it, then what the heck is this thing? What is it?
Anybody that's currently out against suppressors right now is just political grandstanding because it is one of the hardest items in the country to obtain.
Yeah.
Only thing harder than this is like explosive devices. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. None of them going after suppressors doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah. So Me Too on Tube says don't make excuses for the Supreme Court. There's a bunch of things that happen. I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but they just don't look at everything.
No, yeah, they don't.
They don't take up everything, and then obviously, if you read the reports, the Trump administration did ask them also not to take it up. So, that's probably signaling something there.
See, my problem. I think my problem would be if the Trump administration tells them, yeah, don't worry about taking it up, and then administration goes and says, oh, we're going to get rid of these, we're going to ban all these. I think that I would have a massive issue with, because then the president, who's supposed to be 1/3 of power, is then deciding everything
by executive order. Yeah.
By executive order, where the other 2/3 aren't doing anything, and that would be a massive issue.
Yeah, and when Elizabeth Warren becomes president, and then she's going to executive order the crap out of her or whoever else becomes president. I heard Bernie's running behind.
They're all such a joke.
Yeah, on this thing. John Blaze says Trump is a FUD. I would agree. I don't even think. There's a lot of screaming going on out there.
What?
Yeah, Lola. Okay, just making sure you're in here. I can hear a whole bunch of screaming outside this. My barbershop is downstairs, but then next to that is like a hair salon.
God.
And those ladies get kind of rowdy.
Oh, okay. No, I totally think he's a FUD. I don't think he's interested in the Second Amendment at all. He pandered to us and it worked, and now.
Do you really think he's on FUD level? Like, I don't think he's on FUD level.
I don't think he's even on FUD.
Yeah,
I think he's less
because a FUD is someone who has guns.
Yeah,
I just need my shotguns. That's all I need.
No, I personally don't think he's even on FUD level.
Yeah,
I don't
think
think he's not a gun.
Yeah. I think he's way below FUD level in terms of his awareness of guns, Second Amendment, or anything like that. So, let's see what Harry's Holsters has to say right here. He says you can't always, I guess, count on the SCOTUS abiding the Constitution. Sometimes you don't want cases to go before them. That's...
Yeah.
If you're trying to be strategic, but I don't think the Trump administration is trying to be strategic by telling them not to take up this case, because I think they do want to do things about suppressors. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
what the deal
it's hard
is with
to
them doing that. Yeah.
SCOTUS has done things in the past that are completely unconstitutional. If you look at, what's the abortion one that they did? If you actually read through case law, and most people haven't, if you read through the case law, it is the claims that they made in that case have nothing to do with constitutionality. It was crazy. I'm not leaning, I don't want to say that I lean one way or the other on that issue, but no, they have done unconstitutional things before. So
yeah,
it's not always a good thing for them to take up your case.
No.
Hopefully this New York one ends in our favor, because twice now it hasn't. Twice now it has ended up against the person on both lower courts, I believe. So I'm hoping the Supreme Court will do what needs to be done, but there's no guarantee.
There's no way to tell with the Supreme Court, too. That's the thing. So, and I think we have one more conservative judge on there, supposedly, allegedly.
Yeah. I'm really hoping we get another conservative judge on there soon.
Yeah, but I don't even think we can count on that, to be honest with you. But you don't want liberal judges on there, because you're gonna see the stuff flip really quick.
Ginsburg is gonna hold on as long as she can before she's gone.
Yeah, she might hold on forever, man. You never know. Make a deal with the devil, yo.
She's gonna. What's that movie, Weekend at Bernie's? That's what they're gonna end up doing with her. Yeah. Tying strings around her and
she's apparently a superhero. She's the reincarnation of Captain Marvel, I guess.
God, did you see the thing? Have we talked about the Captain Marvel thing that came out a couple weeks ago?
No.
With her being a villain. Did you see that?
I haven't seen Endgame yet, so don't.
No, I haven't either. I haven't seen either of the movies. But there was a deleted scene from Captain Marvel, where some guy goes up to her when she first lands on Earth or something. Some guy goes up to her and is like, "Why don't you smile more?" or some shit like that. And she goes to
no, that's in the Captain Marvel movie, yeah.
I thought that was a deleted scene. I didn't think it was actually in the movie.
No, the scene with the guy is in the movie, but
She like steals his motorcycle.
Yeah, they cut it down, but basically that was a SJW scene to show you the
Oh my
toxic
God.
masculinity of dudes.
But makes her a total supervillain. That's
Yeah.
something a supervillain does, not a superhero.
I don't know.
And
I
the people
don't know. They
in
had to
Armory.
throw. They had to throw that in there. They had to throw that in there. I have never walked up to any woman in my life and said you need to smile more. I think people need to smile less. It's my personal.
I've walked up to people and said, "Can you fuck out of get out of here?"
Hey,
I don't
no
like you.
cursing, no cursing,
Sorry.
babyface. Yeah, we're gonna put a swear jar here for you if you don't behave
Max,
yourself.
I can curse.
Huh? Mac's not on yet. Well, okay, we want him to actually, if he's watching now, if he's listening on the way in, he's gonna have some words for you.
Says Maine passed assisted suicide law today.
Who passed assisted suicide? Who passed it?
Maine, the state of Maine.
Oh, Maine. Okay. So let me see. While we're waiting here, let's go to okay, Florida's doing some stuff.
The constitutional garbage that they're pushing for.
Yeah, let's see if I can pull this up.
That I saw here. New Florida law will stop Bloomberg finance gun control petition
that's what I was
drives.
going to talk about. Here, let me pull that up on the screen. Wait, hold on, wrong screen. Yeah.
Now that we've gotten DeSantis in office, he's been doing shit, and I haven't heard too many complaints about him, even from the left.
Yeah.
Like
no,
he's making moves in what I would say is the right direction for a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I think DeSantis so far, I'm not trying to give him a report, but I think he is doing some positive things at this point. He's not up for re-election. We don't know what he wants to do. But so it says here, let me read this for you guys. Michael Bloomberg is worth an estimated $56 billion. He's used a relatively small part of that stack of cash, tens of millions of dollars, to push gun control efforts in a variety of states around the country. Besides funding the campaigns of selected anti-gun or quote-unquote gun sense politicians, he's also funded efforts to get gun control initiative questions on ballots in Colorado, Washington, and other states. Florida, however, has now taken steps to keep out-of-state financiers from bussing in paid signature collectors to further their own pet political goals. Earlier this week, Governor Ron DeSantis signed HB 5 into law. So, and the first thing you always think when I hear about like any HB anything being signed into law is like what else is tagged onto it. So I'm not 100% sure. I did try to look through it to see if there was anything terrible tagged onto it, but it looks like it's all at election. It's all focused on elections and stuff like that, unless I'm mistaken. So
I'll pull up the text from 5/8. This is the most recent text.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's actually not that big of a bill. It's 18 pages.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's terrible. So,
so what is it? What's it trying to prevent from outsiders coming and interfering?
Yeah, because you could pay. I guess you could pay before to have people go out and collect signatures and then get stuff, put forward in the state. In the state houses. So that's what happened last year when we got all this gun control here in Florida. There was a lot of money. They were bussing around kids, scaring the crap out of the Republicans that we have here. And then they were just giving up on the Second Amendment left, right, and center. So I think this is probably a step in the right direction for Florida. I wish Florida would reverse all the crap that they put into effect last year, but we'll see. Yeah. So basically, they can't pay people for signatures, and then I think they can't hold the signatures longer than a certain time. They have to show where money is coming from and all that. Not a bad thing. So
the amendment is intended to stop and this is from our favorite Marion Hammer. The amendment is intended to stop out-of-state billionaires from crafting amendments to Florida's constitution and sending paid out-of-state petition gatherers into Florida to collect petition signatures to change the constitution for the benefit of out-of-state special interests. The House voted 105-0 to pass the grant amendment, with 15 House members not voting. So overwhelmingly, they voted this to be a positive thing. The Senate concurred in the Grant Amendment and passed the bill 22-17. So there was a split on the Senate.
Okay.
On June 7th, 2019, Governor DeSantis signed the bill into law. So this doesn't take effect for 30 days. The new process takes effect in 30 days. Wow, actually, that's really good. That's really good. I thought it didn't take effect until 2020, but this, it says, is going to take effect in 30 days, which is awesome. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
DeSantis has been running things from what I hear. So.
Vanessa Kitty disagrees with us. She says, I disagree. Those Florida Republicans were always anti-gun. That may be true in some cases, but we didn't get any anti-gun legislation until this thing went down, and then a bunch of guys who...
As much as Hank likes to rag on what's his name that moved to Congress, our previous governor, when he had protests outside of his office like for a couple weeks straight, he basically told them like piss off and close the doors. Yeah. So at least he did that instead of caving like most governors would have. Yeah.
So let me just remind everyone, smash the thumbs ups. We have like over 100 people watching us live. It'll be nice to see some thumbs go up there. We got like 7 thumbs down, so hey.
Wow, that's surprising.
I mean, yeah.
Somebody's not.
Usually
happy.
We don't get that many thumbs downs, but maybe because Mac's coming on,
They're waiting for him, and I'm not a good fill-in.
So, I don't know. You're gonna have to get taller.
I'm not a Sasquatch. What's he's like
get
6'4",
some more guns. You don't have enough guns.
Yeah, seriously.
So
isn't Mac like 6'4" or something like that? Like he's really freaking tall.
I would believe that. He's not as tall as like let's say Hickok and Son, but we got 9 thumbs downs now. So whatever, it's all good.
Just say it if people thumb down.
Just smash the thumbs. We'll get Mac in here. It's gonna happen. Here at some point. We should see him. I haven't seen him text me or anything like that yet. Let me see. And I'm also trying to add him to the thing so that he doesn't have to text
10.
me when he wants to come in. He should just be able to dial in. I'll try doing that again. We'll see if he picks up. And if not, he should be able to... should be relatively easy for him to jump in here. All right. So, yeah. Some small things happening in Florida. I'm not going to say I'm happy with Florida yet, man. We've got a long way to go.
I don't think anybody will be happy until gun regulations are off the books completely.
Yeah. Did you see this article about the knives of John Wick?
That's we talk about them when Corey was on?
Yes, I think he might have mentioned it. So the knives of John Wick Microtech Continental set.
Let me tell you, I got to play with those. When the first time I met Corey, he brought him out with him. He had this whole set with him.
Oh, really?
I wasn't allowed to take pictures or anything, but he had the set. He had the challenge coin. He had like everything. Oh, and I asked him what the price was going to be, and was just like, I can't afford that. But they are super cool.
Yeah, they look cool.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a fan of Microtech. I think I got my Microtech on me right now. Let me see what I got. Yep, there we go. I got my Microtech right there. Boom. It's not a John Wick, but I mean, it's a Hank Strange.
It comes with the Combat Troodon and the UTX 70, I think. Mm-hmm. John Wick's content in terms of it's a double-edged cipher in the UTX 70. Mm-hmm. And it also comes with the 999 gold proof coin. So like the coins in the middle of the box, it has the coins like you would use at the Continental to like pay for services. Which was super
cool. That's a big...
Yeah, it has those, like, coins, and it was super, super cool.
Yeah.
But... And then it has, obviously, the card with the... and the pencil. Big thing is it came with the pencil.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have to see the next time we get the Microtech guys to come on. I don't know when they're coming on again, but the next time we get them to come on, maybe we'll get them to bring those, and we could actually see it now that the movie is out.
It was neat. It was really cool.
Yeah, Kioski says I can't afford a Microtech. I understand that. You know what? There's ways you can always trade.
I was just gonna say, it's sometimes you gotta say, is it you can't afford it or you don't want to afford it? Because there's 2 big differences right there. Mm-hmm. I totally understand somebody not wanting to pay $200 or $300 for a knife. Like I get it, but I bet you can afford it. It's just, do you really want to spend $200 on a knife?
Yeah. And there's ways like we traded for for one that I have, or was it one that Lola has? I think both.
Lola has. You did some trading. We did some horse trading on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So, and then there's like a lifetime warranty on those things. So we actually sent it to Microtech, and they cleaned it up, tightened up the screws and stuff like that. So overall,
Yeah, I've been
not bad.
happy with mine.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been carrying a Spyderco. I went back to my Spyderco, which is also not up here.
Yeah. Vanessa Kitty says John Wick should have used the Ticonderoga pencil, the triangle cross-section pencils. Huh.
I don't know anything about those.
Yeah, I don't even know. Pencils? I can't remember the last time I used a pencil. So, yeah. So we got, that's a cool knife. I do have another knife here. Oh, here's Lola's that we traded. I forgot what we traded for this, but here's Lola's Microtech.
That's a good one.
Go. Yeah, this looks really good. She's actually carrying it, so hey, that's a good thing.
Good for her. And it's got the best blade profile.
Yeah, Lola's. Yeah, I told him you sent it in for repair. It looks good. Here, let me see if we can close in on that here. You guys could see. I think it looks good. Nice little knife. Boom. These Microtechs are cool, man. I don't know. Do you know what the price? So the John Wick one, is that actually for sale?
You can buy them, and I think it's like $3,000 or something stupid.
Oh, okay.
It's something unbelievably crazy. Yeah.
I will buy my Cabot 1911 first.
You got the money.
Vanessa Kitty says she's a math teacher. Everyone should have pencils.
I do have a pencil in front of me,
I have a phone
actually.
with a calculator on it. So
what does that have to do with having a pencil?
And then I've got 10 fingers, 10 toes. That always helps with subtraction, math, and stuff like that. And then there's always guessing. Yeah, just guess to the higher power. Vanessa Kitty's not gonna like that. She's a math teacher. It's gonna be very precise, very precise stuff going on.
I imagine her as a math teacher carrying her like massive 44 Magnum to keep kids in line.
Jafari Land wants to know if the gold coins are real. I'm guessing no.
Don't think for $3,500 I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah.
I mean the price of gold per ounce right now is like $1,200, so probably.
Kiaski wants to know if those are TriStar screws on the Microtech.
Probably. That's the new. I'm guessing they're using the new ones.
Yeah, I think they're the only ones that can do anything, because you can't buy the screwdriver for that, right?
You can. Some places are making them, but yeah, it's like these here. These are the new screws that they're using. You can buy the bit. There's a couple places that sell them, but Microtech doesn't like you digging around in their knife.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was $2,600.
Okay, hold on a second here. Let me merge Mac in. Let's see. Did that work? Oh, missed it. Oh, wait.
I'm here. See him?
Oh, okay. Boom! There he goes.
All right.
Hold on a second here. Let me put Mac in the middle with Babyface here, because that
actually, I'm trying to let me get my video input set up right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I want to do a split screen so everyone can make judgment calls on whether Mac and Babyface look alike.
We look the same. Yeah. We're similar.
Yeah. Did you have any babies that we don't know about in the 80s? Okay, yeah, your image went out just as I said that. He's like, man, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we got everything set up.
Yeah, I think your video went out on my end. I'm not sure why.
Really? Here, let me
Yeah. Turn your camera on again. Okay, boom. Yeah, there it goes.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Mac in the house for all the people who think that we're there's some people out there who probably think we're lying, Mac, that you were coming on.
Why would they think that? We do videos together all the time, man.
I don't know. We got like 12 thumbs downs already, and I was like, this is Mac's fault.
Yeah, it is. It's like we race to see who can get the most thumbs down.
Yeah, but usually when you're not on it, this doesn't happen.
We were out filming, and I raced up here and just turned all the stuff on. That's why the wrong camera was running. It's a crazy day, man.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate you coming on. I don't know if Babyface has to go or not. Have you met Babyface before? Have you ever met?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been on the
Well,
same.
virtually, right?
Yeah,
I think we were
virtually.
on before once.
Because I've
Before.
seen him on your streams before.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. So hopefully, Babyface. I don't know if he's going off to.
I'm gonna go build a gun.
Are
I
you
have
gonna-
a video.
Okay, you got a video. Are you going to moderate? If not,
Yeah,
if you don't
yeah,
have
I'll-
someone over there, Mac, I think Lola is around, so you can add her as a moderator just in case. Because I
I'm
know.
gonna.
Streaming on my channel, man. I'm just on your
Oh,
channel.
you're not? Oh, okay.
No, I didn't have
Okay.
time to set it up. I just Skyped you and just figured I'd just jump on your
okay.
stream.
All right. Yeah. So, all right, cool. So hopefully
Cool.
we got
I'm gonna
some.
leave you
we
to
got
it.
some
I'm gonna go
moderators.
do some filming with building an AK. So YouTube's gonna love me.
All right. Thanks a lot.
I'll be sure to share that on YouTube and
Yeah.
then,
Right.
and,
All right.
and start putting your applications in for jobs elsewhere.
He's not monetized. He hasn't
Yeah,
even gotten
so
to 1,000
that-
subscribers.
They're
yet.
never gonna monetize me, but who cares?
Yeah.
Us idiots that actually thought we could believe in the YouTube promise and like, oh yeah, be a creator and be your own boss and make your own videos and support your family. That sounded great in 2006, and look where we are today.
Yeah.
Have you done a video on the Vox apocalypse yet? Have you talked about that with your?
Vox apocalypse. What Vox do?
Oh,
They-
you haven't seen anything about this? Oh man, Hank, you got to fill him in.
Yeah, you might want to
This-
fill because I don't know. I might miss things, but basically, Vox went after Steven Crowder,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And I've been following that. I forgot Vox. If you would have said Crowder, I would have known what you're talking about. Yeah. But here's the thing, guys. Look, I'm a libertarian. I don't believe in a big government. I want the federal government out of my life. I want the pre-Civil War government where all the states had the power and the federal government basically was in this nice little box that our founders put it in, right? Before it became this all-powerful entity that hands down dictates to the states who used to be autonomous, right? But with that being said, when you have these mega corporations that can sway the outcome of elections, that get federal money and are exempt from federal laws because they're supposed to be, not a publisher, but they're exempted by federal law, so they're not responsible for the content that's on their servers, right?
yeah, they have a
So if you-
special exemption so they can't be sued. Yeah.
They can't be held liable in court, and they sought that protection under U.S. federal law, and in doing so, they're not supposed to moderate their content because to moderate the content, that means
Why do you
they're
need it? Yeah.
which means that law no longer applies to them. And Congress is finally, for like the third time, looking into this. But come on, guys, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either you're just being sued, or you better stop moderating free speech. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
they're trying to
100%
play it
right.
both ways as
Yeah.
best they can.
Right, exactly. So anyway,
I'll leave it to
hopefully,
you guys.
yeah, go for the folks. Babyface is getting out of here. You guys should go subscribe to him, Babyface P on YouTube. We're trying to get him to 1,000. And Mac,
Real quick
you
before
should
I
be
go.
1 million by now. Is Mac 1 million?
oh
yet?
man, go ahead, babyface.
I was just say real quick before I go, the first episode of the AK bend is coming out tonight, so show you guys how to bend a flat receiver into a receiver. So
Yeah.
on that, you guys have
Yeah,
enjoy the
man.
night.
Yeah.
I know. I'm living on that nice edge of YouTube right now. They're gonna hate me.
He's never gonna get to 1,000.
Nope.
Oh.
All right, see you guys.
All right, Patrick. Yeah.
Jeez, man.
He doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, he's coming in at a good time, right?
Yeah, I feel sorry for the folks that are coming in. And you know what? It's not just gun channels that they're messing with, man. They're messing with, Crowder. I mean, if you don't follow the political ideals, what Google should just do is say, here's where we stand on every single political issue. And if you don't agree with us, just go someplace else because we're going to find a way to mess with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and part of the thing is, man, they realize what the power is, like you were saying. They realize where the power is when it comes to the social media, and they're intent on doing something about it. In other words, they want to make sure that they use it to control the election and steer it in the direction that they want. This is a power that they have, and they don't have to sit around and wait for courts or politicians to do anything. They can do something. But like you said, the politicians have things that they could do here, to affect this if they want to.
All they need to do is yank that exempt status, and then hey, you want to moderate the content? Fine. Then you're no longer protected by federal law, and you can be sued for somebody posting a video that's showing an illegal act. I mean, take your pick. Either stop moderating the content, or moderate it, and do your best.
Yeah.
That you can kick us off but you can't seek that protection and then not abide by the rules. And that's
Yeah.
what they're doing. And they've been doing it. They've been investigated for it before, but it never seems to go anywhere. And I wonder why. Let's see, Google's a multi-billion-dollar company, and
Lots of
politicians
money,
are
lots
on
of
the
money.
take. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of
Follow
money.
the money trail.
Yeah, lots of money going on, and not just to liberal politicians out there either. So
All politicians. That's why I don't make the distinction between Democrat and Republican. They're all crooked as hell, man. I mean, even the ones that we generally like, everybody's like, oh, Rand Paul, even he has dirt, on him. It's like, but they're all human. We're all fallible. I mean, I've done stuff in my past, that I wouldn't be proud of. We all have. We're human, right?
Mm-hmm.
But being crooked and taking money, that's a decision you make. And it seems like politicians just can't seem to resist that temptation, man. You know what I mean? It's like,
That's true. That's true. And what's the biggest reason for that? What's the biggest reason for that? Is it because they want to keep getting reelected, or is it just a pure greed, or both of those things?
Money and power, dude. Money and power. Take this AOC thing, for example, right? Mm-hmm. She's a freshman to Congress, and she's out there voting herself a raise right now.
Yeah, 174,000, not enough?
An approval rating, and they're going to vote themselves a raise. How would you like to go to work one day and just say, hey, Google, we got together and we held a vote, and you're supposed to give us all $100,000 now. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be awesome?
How come, we should have some kind of control over this?
We should vote for their raises. And my entire life, I don't think Congress's approval has ever been in the double digits, ever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And these career politicians, it's like, so Congress had no problem voting to put a term limit on the presidency. But do you think they'd ever vote to put a term limit on themselves? No. They need to set a referendum out and let us vote on whether or not they have term limits.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to vote themselves out of a job.
Yeah. I've got, they're never going to do it. I agree with you on that. People have been trying to do that now since the beginning.
Yeah.
Since the beginning. So I don't see us ever getting them to do that. All right. So I think, are you settled in?
I'm settled in, man. I think I'm good.
Okay.
I may have too many lights on. I don't know. I got to change
you look a little bit light. I know that Lola came in here and added light to my thing, but my lighting is changing around for some reason. So I wouldn't
see, when I'm pasty white. See, look what happens when my white ass hands get up there. Look, my face looks normal. Then when I take the white away, try to balance it to the gray. I can't tell.
I can't tell. Yeah,
I can't tell. If I do this the whole video, I'll look semi-normal. Look. The privileges of being white right here. I can control the white balance of the camera. Whatever.
Yeah. Your arms are going to get real tired.
I just need to change the background color. Yeah. What's funny, man, is years ago I built a studio and I put a bunch of guns on racking in the back, right? Mm-hmm. And then everybody on GunTube started putting walls of guns behind them. And I'm like, well, all right,
it's
great.
Not cool. It's not cool anymore.
I'm doing a gray wall because I don't want everybody having the same thing that I've done, right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm trying to think of some other stuff. We're trying to come up with some ideas. Do you watch 180-second Ideas? Gun Drama Johnny, who's doing the hillbilly thing now?
I did before he left. I haven't had a chance to check him out since he came back. I know he is back.
So he's got a really cool background set up, with a road sign and then just some stuff, and it's kind of a little bit darker lit behind him and do some dramatic lower lighting.
Oh, okay.
I'm mixing it up here in my studio because this gray's blowing me out because I'm too stupid white, man. I mean, it's just
you need edge lighting or something like that.
It was me. Not many people know that. So.
Oh, okay. See, look, I've got a wall. I would like to I have a couple of bags of balls behind me. I would like to.
Balls.
Yeah, well, I want to have a wall of balls. That's what I want to have.
I see. Huh? I see you have a blue ball back there.
Yes, I got several. If you look above me here, yeah. So I thought that would be a little interesting. There's a lot of white in this room too. I've got to kill some of the. Yeah, there's a lot of white walls.
White walls. I got to get rid of the gray. Gray is usually a good neutral color for cameras, but we're talking about stuff these guys don't care about. Let's talk about things that go boom and the politics around them or something.
Right, absolutely. Let's do that. Babyface and I were alluding to this a little bit. So the title of the show actually is does the Second Amendment cover suppressors? That's the title of our show today. So
Okay.
We can probably get into that. Obviously, there was this. There's been some news articles out there that the Supreme Court refused to take up a case having to do with suppressors. I think the guy that's in, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So the Kettler case, it was a guy in Kansas. So some states have passed laws saying, so the NFA they imposed that on us through the Interstate Commerce Clause. So what they're claiming is if you make a machine gun, you could sell it across state lines. Therefore, the federal government now has the power to govern that and tax that, right? So the states have said, well, and several states have done this. Well, if our citizens manufacture it in this state, they never sell or transport it outside of the state, you have no jurisdiction here. It's a states' rights issue. Mm-hmm. And the federal government doesn't want the states reclaiming their rights, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what Kettler did is he had purchased a suppressor made by a local gun shop which was legal under Kansas law at the time. Mm-hmm. And he purchased that suppressor, and then he was subsequently arrested by either local police or perhaps federal agents. I don't know which, but it wound up in federal court. He went through the federal court process, and he was convicted of being in possession of an illegal suppressor. And I guess the district court determined that suppressors weren't protected under the Second Amendment, went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court refused to hear the case, which means it automatically is whatever the lower court said stands. That's the new law. That's the new precedent. Okay. So that really kicks the states in the, those balls you have back there behind your head. Mm-hmm. It really kicks them in their collective ball sack that you have back there, and it really usurps and reasserts the federal government's thumb of authority on states. Right. Here's the problem we have with our political system. First of all, we have the two-party system, which is garbage. All that does is guarantee nothing ever gets done. Right. So we have two parties that refuse to help the other party get a bill passed. So we have a do-nothing legislature. Mm-hmm. So a viable third party would change a lot of that. But we also have a federal government now that has all the stinking power, and because they usurped that power after the Civil War. The federal government said, okay, we can't have the states,
go out and do their own thing. Yeah.
So we got to take away their ability to print their own currency. We don't want them having their own armies. We're going to make one federal army. We're going to do all this stuff. And so the federal government became all powerful after the Civil War, so they wouldn't have to worry about states running off and making their own countries again. Mm-hmm. And so the side effect of that is what we have today, where the federal government says, here, you owe us tax money, and states, by the way, if you don't post a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit, then we're going to withhold the tax money we took from you that we usually give back to you to improve your roads. We're not going to give you that money back. Mm-hmm. So they continue to use money and political pressure to keep the states in line, so the federal government maintains its power. In reality, I believe, like California wanted to secede after Trump got elected. Right. I don't agree with the reasons. I think they're whack jobs. But I agree. If California voted to secede from the Union, there's nothing in the Constitution that says they can't. Mm-hmm. They most certainly get out, leave, go. Your economy's garbage anyway. Yeah. If they leave, it's less of a burden on our collective economy, and let them go.
I think that would make a lot of things better. Cars, for example, we've got because of, what is it in California, CARE or something like that, because of their standards. Every car sold in America has to match their standards, right? So it makes it more difficult for other cars. Right there, we would get some easing. And it still hasn't made any difference in California. I think we've been under that for 30 years?
What's that?
I think we've been under that CARE thing that they have in California for a long time.
Yeah. California kind of leads the way in socialism. I mean, they're all about big government. I mean, geez, you take a look at what they're doing now. They're saying, hey, illegal immigrants, come on in, man. We'll give you driver's licenses. We'll put you through school.
Healthcare.
We'll give you healthcare. And then I just watched a news story about we have American citizens homeless, living on the streets, like 55,000 of them in Los Angeles alone.
Yes.
And they can't get medical services. But if you come across the border illegally, you can have free medical services.
Yeah. Huge problem. It's a huge.
What kind of whack job thinking is that? Secede, go, please, leave.
It's insane.
Go get your own start your own state, country of California. You'll fail in 4 years, and then we can have another war with Mexico and take it back. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't think Mexico wants it.
Front property, man. We got to get it back somehow.
You think Mexico wants California? You think they want to give insurance and all that crap to everyone in California? You think Mexico wants that? I doubt it. I don't think they want it.
Well, I guarantee you Mexico wants California back. They've been salty about that since we took it from them.
Oh,
so
okay.
if they could get enough people, if California's going to welcome them all to come across the border and have voting rights and stuff, they're going to vote the illegal aliens into positions of political power. Then they're going to hold a vote one day and say we want to be part of Mexico again. And if you think I'm making that up or you think that's far fetched, you need to do a little bit of reading and research.
Yeah, they're talking about it. They're talking about it.
And they could do that. They could choose to go back to Mexico if they got enough political people in there. If you're going to give illegal immigrants all the power of a U.S. citizen, it's crazy what the outcome could be. So, but California just doesn't seem to think ahead of, they're not chess players. They're checkers players. They don't look at the long-term ramifications of the crazy stuff that they do. And sadly, it sets the precedence for other goofball states like Illinois and New York, and they look at California and they go, "Yeah, we can." It's like it's a race to see who could outdo stupid, right? It's just like the current Democratic field for presidents, right? It's like all of them are trying to go more socialist than the other one. It's like I'm for forgiving all student debt. Now, what if you owned a bank, Hank? And a presidential candidate said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to forgive all student debt," and you held $20 million in student loans.
You're done unless that
debt and told you, "Hey, sorry, buddy, you're out of $20 million."
Right, unless the government's coming in to do something with it, what's that going to do for you? Unless there is a plan somehow, the government's going to come in there. What are they going to do? Print more money?
Well, they do that anyway.
Yeah. So here's the thing that I want to ask about what you was going back to what you were saying about the federal government and the states. Doesn't that cut both ways? So if that's really true, then we should all have access to the Second Amendment anywhere we go in America.
Yeah.
But we don't. But we don't have access to it.
Right.
Because so where's the equity in that?
Well, so that's why you have a federal court system. So in theory, if Illinois was infringing, so like let's say in Indiana, we can legally carry concealed firearms, right? And let's say that we were a constitutional carry state. We're not quite there yet. We just this year we finally got the fee for licensing taken away. So concealed carry permits in Indiana are free and you can apply for them online, no charge. Okay, so we're one step away from constitutional carry, but there's 14 states or more that are constitutional carry right now. And what if you're one of those constitutional carry states and you're just going across Illinois and you don't have a permit and you get stopped and you say, well, I'm a resident of Kentucky, so I have constitutional carry. They go, sorry, buddy, you're a felon, and now you just lost your gun rights in your home state.
Yeah.
So in theory, the federal government's supposed to stop that, and that would be adjudicated to the federal courts. And the federal courts are supposed to say, yes, the Second Amendment protects an individual right, and Illinois, you're infringing on this man's or woman's rights, and therefore, all's forgiven, and here's your rights back, and you're not a felon.
Right.
But that's not how it works.
And people think that that's hypothetical, but I can't remember her name right now, but I met the young woman who she lived in Pennsylvania. She had a concealed carry license in Pennsylvania, and she drove over the border one day into New Jersey, and a trooper pulled her over, and she, trying to do the right thing, told him that she had a gun in the car in her purse, but that she had a CCW. He arrested her. She spent 45 days or something like that in prison, and then I think the governor of New Jersey had to I forgot what it's called right now, but he had to clear all those charges for her.
Oh,
he pardoned her. Yeah. So I mean, it could happen. It could happen even if you have those things.
It does happen. Illinois would arrest me a heartbeat. If I was walking around in Illinois with a concealed weapon, they'd arrest me in a heartbeat and charge me with a felony, most likely. And then that would, screw me up in my own state. So we need the federal government. It's supposed to say, because we've already had the Heller versus DC case say that the Second Amendment does in fact guarantee an individual right to own firearms, to bear arms, right? It's already been said, and there's there's certain facets to that still need to be hammered out, thanks to Scalia's opinion, where we can impose reasonable restrictions on the Second Amendment. That's like saying, okay, well, what's reasonable? Mm-hmm. What's reasonable to you may not be reasonable to me. That's a nebulous statement, and the courts aren't supposed to deal in such nebulous ideas. But here we have, sure, you can have reasonable restrictions. So in California, it's reasonable to only have a 10-round magazine. It's reasonable to not even own a semi-automatic. It's reasonable that you should only be able to have a flintlock. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then
decide what's reasonable.
So coming back to suppressors, which I got a bunch of them here with me. I was showing Babyface.
Yeah, I got one.
Got a bunch of different suppressors.
I got one. Oh, yeah. I got one here too on that you can't own. Yeah. I like suppressors.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a bunch. I've got a bunch. This is just like 4 of them that I have. It's addictive, actually. This is the first one. I have like a Surefire. It's my first suppressor that I bought. Right there, the SOCOM Mini. It's pretty beaten up. Awesome, 30 caliber. We got a bunch of them. And then here's the thing. Babyface was saying this when he was on. This is serialized, right? Mm-hmm. We got to go through a background check. You got to fill out paperwork, do a tax stamp, all of that for this. So is this a firearm or not? Is it covered under the Second Amendment or what?
No, it's not a firearm. Even under the NFA, it's not. So you can take that suppressor and cross state lines and go to another state where suppressors are legal, and you have right of free passage, right? Mm-hmm. So that's been settled. Mm-hmm. So you can take that suppressor and drive up here to Indiana, and you don't have to file a form with the ATF to get permission to do so, because they don't do it as a firearm. It's regulated, but it's not a firearm. Okay. But that's beyond that. So that's like saying firearms are protected by the Second Amendment, but not ammunition.
Right.
So you can have all the guns you want, but we're now banned ammunition.
Yeah. So is that feasible? That if it's feasible to do that to suppressors,
it's the exact same thing.
Okay.
If let's say you can have a firearm, but you can have no means to load ammunition or buy ammunition, because that is not protected under Second Amendment, because it's not a firearm.
Right.
You can't have a stock, or you can't change a pistol grip, or you can't put an optic on it. Optics are not protected by the Second Amendment, so you can't put a red dot sight on there. We're going to regulate away red dot sights from firearms because they make them too lethal, or magnified optics on sniper rifles are too lethal. So we're going to ban them, and we can do that because they're not firearms and they're not protected by the Second Amendment. It's complete nonsense, right? Mm-hmm. But the anti-gunners are always looking for these particular facets that they can attack. Mm-hmm. And the Kettler case was unfortunately a big loss for us, because now we're going to have this argument over and over and over again, and the anti-gunners are going to glob onto this, and they're going to say, okay, well, magazines are accessories. They're not firearms. We should be able to ban them too. So you can have your AR-15, but you can't have a magazine for it. Mm-hmm. Because they increase the lethality, so you can put a block in there and single load it, like in the UK. I mean,
so we could definitely be looking at that with suppressors, right? Because now they're like bad, evil things or whatever, when all they do is really protect our hearing, make it more comfortable for our neighbors when we're shooting. So we could seriously be looking at that, and then after that, if that happens, it could go anywhere theoretically.
Right. But, the reality of the matter is I can go down to Menards and with $20 buy everything I need to make a suppressor for a firearm. Or I can just walk over to my bed, grab a pillow, and put it over the end of the muzzle and make a suppressor. Suppressors are insanely easy devices to make, and they are safety devices. It's because through my entire life growing up, it hasn't always been that suppressors were legal in so many states. In Kansas, when I grew up in Kansas, you couldn't have machine guns, short-barreled rifles, suppressors, or any of that. They were all outlawed. Mm-hmm. And so I shot all the time as a kid, and I didn't even think about putting hearing protection on. So now I have tinnitus, really bad. Matter of fact, the conversation you and I are having right now, my ears are ringing louder than your voice. Mm-hmm. Now, had I had ready access to that, the cost of a suppressor really is pretty affordable in the grand scheme of things. If you could go in and buy a handgun and buy a suppressor, not do a bunch of paperwork on it, and just go out and shoot your firearm suppressed, just as like buying a box of ammunition, then the cost of suppressors would come down to the point where they would probably say, hey, buy a new .22 rifle and get a free suppressor. Yeah. Because the cost, they're very simple rudimentary devices. They're not that expensive to make. Right. but but because they're governed by the NFA and there's a very narrow market for them, that's why they're so stinking expensive right now.
Yeah. Basically, they are mufflers. That's the technology and the people who came up with them. And a lot of us have that. Like, I don't have it permanently. My tinnitus, I think, comes and goes. But there's times when even running water from the faucet sounds like just 1,000 bells.
Yeah.
Loud bells going off. So, and I try to wear the hearing protection, use suppressors as much as I can to minimize it, because it's like driving. Imagine if we were just driving cars, and I live in the country, and there's dudes that cut off parts of their cars so it sounds louder and all that. If you were driving a car like that and there were no mufflers on it, it's the same thing like you're shooting guns a lot, or you're shooting competitions, etc., and you don't have these things. It's destructive.
Oh yeah, and we've all fired rifles and the recoil broke the seal of the earmuff and rung our ear. Suppressors are simple safety devices, and speaking throughout American history, silencers and suppressors are never used in crime. So we had one instance just recently where a guy used one, and all of a sudden we're going to take them away. And the couple of 100 years that we've been here, and silencers are nothing new. They were invented a long time ago. They're just not used in crime. And so we finally have somebody use one in a crime, and all of a sudden, oh man, we got to take them away from everybody. If we follow that logic, every time we have a car crash, we need to ban every car made. Plane crash, no more air travel.
Yeah.
Bus crash, no more bus travel.
Yeah.
I mean, the logic behind
people are getting too fat, ban forks.
Or even 10 instances is just asinine.
Yeah, absolutely. If they ban forks or spoons, I'm in big trouble. But listen, I'll tell you something, man. I learned how to eat with my hands at a very young age, so nothing is stopping me from getting my tactical fat on. I'm gonna eat no matter what. I'm from a third world country. I don't know about you, Mac.
Nah, I grew up in Kansas where it was hot. We had food, but it was needed water. We needed food.
Yeah. So yeah, listen. Okay, I'm trying to make light of it, but the thing with suppressors, and we did talk about this last week, but I know there's a lot of angst out there about it. So all of these things that are out there right now, they have regulations on them. They pretty much know who has them and what they have. So if something like this happens, there's really no hiding from it. And we don't know that they're going to grandfather in things or whatever, because they're not doing that anymore. That's gone out of vogue.
Right? It seems like, they don't do that. It's like, I'm sorry you purchased that legally, and we said that was okay back when you bought it, but now we passed new law, and we're going to retroactively impose that. That's unconstitutional. It's called the grandfather clause. If murder isn't illegal today, and I go murder somebody, and then tomorrow they pass a law making murder illegal, under U.S. law, they're not supposed to be able to retroactively impose that new law on you when it was legal to do what you did.
Yeah, when it wasn't a crime when you committed it.
Yeah, you broke that law 2 years ago. We just passed it yesterday, but we're going to go ahead and punish you for it now. I mean, this is all basic constitutional stuff that we're protected from, yet our government, our federal government, runs roughshod over the Constitution, then it's left up to the courts for us to fight it. It's just like the bump stock ban. They took away our property, and they made the order of destruction or surrender of our property, didn't give us compensation for that property, which was purchased legally, so they're retroactively imposing a rule which is carrying the weight of law. And we were denied due process. There was no vote. Our representatives didn't have a say in the matter. There was no court hearing. There was nothing. It was just a stroke of a pen by an executive. And they said, you know what? Boom, it's illegal. And if you're in possession of it, guess what? You're a felon. You get to go to prison for 10 years.
So what do we do here? What do we do here now, do you think, Mac? What do we do at this point? We're not at DEFCON, levels yet, but what do we do here? Because it seems like something's going to happen.
Fighting in the courts, but I mean, eventually it's going to reach critical mass. I mean, eventually these gun grabbers are going to say they're not done. I mean, they're getting emboldened by the bump stock ban, and if Trump does something stupid with suppressors, they're going to be even further emboldened by that. And then when we get a truly anti-gun administration and an anti-gun held Congress and Senate, then they're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
And literally in 10 years, we could lose everything. We will be relegated to cap and ball revolvers probably. And then what? So somewhere in there's a line in the sand for Americans. We just don't know what it is. But I saw this other thing. So like the millennials, they don't see things the way that a lot of us do. So I'm a Gen Xer. And there was a study done, and I don't know how accurate it was, but they like 34% of millennials male millennials own a hammer. It's like, what? If they don't own a hammer, they're sure as heck not hunting and, doing the stuff that we grew up doing.
Right.
So we're losing that piece of our culture.
So wait a second. Let me. My brain is trying to process what. So you're saying only 34% of them own hammers?
Yeah. It was some poll that was on the evening news, and I think it was Waters World or something was talking about it.
Okay.
And like 30% of millennials own a hammer. And it's just like, seriously, if that's true, that's just mind-boggling, right? Because in my generation, you have screwdrivers, hammers, and
multiple
around the house to fix simple things,
right?
Yeah. You have to be a contractor, but you have basic tools.
No, I mean, I'm terrible at fixing stuff, but I got several hammers. I got sledgehammers.
Trying. Finally, I break it so bad with the hammer, I have to hire a professional to fix it, but I have a hammer.
Yes. Yeah. I don't understand that. That's terrible. Yeah, you should definitely have a hammer, a screwdriver set. There's a bunch of things you should have, so...
But gun ownership as a whole is going down as well. So that cultural piece of what made America America, the Second Amendment, and the fact that we have an adversarial relationship with our government, that's what we were founded upon. That's what the core of American belief was, is that the power, it was in the hands of the people, and the government served us. We didn't serve our government. And now we just have this generation that's like, yeah, man, I want free school. Yeah, man, I'll take a free car. Yeah, man, I take free coffee and free. Yeah.
Everybody should make $100,000 a year. Everyone.
Yeah, they don't understand the concept that there's no such thing as anything free. Somebody's paying for that. There's no free anything, but that's how they bring folks into that line of thinking. It's like, who wouldn't vote for if I was 18 years old and Bernie Sanders says, hey, man, I'm going to put you through school for free. You can become a doctor. It would normally cost, $200,000 in student loans, but screw that. We're just going to let you have that for free.
How does that? Yeah. How did that work for Cuba?
Paid, paying the teachers, or the taxpayer.
Right.
So it's like, but the promise of free stuff is almost over. It's so overwhelming. That's why you see all these countries collapse into socialism and then completely collapse, because it's not self-sustainable, right?
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that's the direction America's heading at this point, and it's scary.
Yeah. Let me. I've got a super chat here. John Blaze says the government could increase the fees so high it would be impossible to own like machine guns. That's possible.
Well, they could. So if you go back to 1934 when the NFA was enacted, the $200 tax, keep in mind in 1934, you could buy a brand new Ford car for less than $300. I think it's right around $300. So they set the tax. The Thompson submachine gun, I think at the time, was the most expensive gun sold. And so they set the tax roughly at the same price as the Thompson. So when they set that $200 tax in 1934, go back and get online and Google inflation calculator and look how much $200 was in 1934 and what that translates to U.S. currency in 2019. It's the cost of a car. So a nice car. So that tax was meant to make it so expensive that nobody would ever buy one. A suppressor, a destructive device, a short-barreled shotgun, a short-barreled rifle, a machine gun. They set that tax so high that nobody could legally own one because the tax was, most people didn't make that in a year.
Right.
But fortunately for us, they didn't account for inflation when they passed the law. So it's always stayed $200. But if they inflate that tax and they pass a law saying, oh, we need to adjust the NFA tax for inflation, and now it costs you $40,000 to have a $200 suppressor.
Yeah, it's on.
That did 1934.
Yeah, exactly.
They could do it again. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities because they already did it to us once.
Yeah. In that vein, Kentucky native wants to know. He wants us to talk about why suppressors got on the NFA in the first place. I think he says was it because it's because of poaching, but now a majority of the states allow it. So do you want to talk to that? That's probably something that you know better than me. How did suppressors get on the NFA in the first place? Were they always there? How did they get there?
I've heard the poaching argument that that people were out shooting the king's deer, and the state wasn't getting its tax revenue for the stamps, and so they wanted to ban suppressors so the law enforcement officials could find people that were poaching. I honestly don't know what the backstory is there. I've read all sorts of different things, but keep in mind the original NFA also required handguns to have a $200 tax paid for them and a background check and all the other stuff that ultimately is the NFA today. But they couldn't get it passed, so they removed handguns from it. Because if you take a look at the NFA, it seems pretty dumb. I can have a gun this small and carry it on my person legally, but I can't have a short-barreled rifle, which I can't easily hide on my person, right? So it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, why are handguns unregulated, but a short-barreled rifle, which would stick out like a turd in a punch bowl if you tried to hide it under a T-shirt, why does that require regulation? Well, it's because they took the handgun component out so they could get it passed, because they fully intended to impose a $200 tax on handguns too.
Oh, okay. So the only thing you wouldn't have been taxed on if they got their way was rifles.
Yeah, pretty much rifles.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. I can't imagine living in that world.
Yep. And I could go one step further, and you know who backed that and helped write that bill?
Who?
3 letters. Guess.
FDR? No.
No.
Oh.
NRA.
NRA. Oh.
Yep.
Yes. How could I miss that one?
They helped write it, and the Gun Control Act of 1968, which further screwed gun owners.
Yeah.
NRA's fingerprints were all over both those bills, and they backed them, supported them, and even helped write them.
Yeah. John Blaze is saying U.S. inflation rate from $200 in 1934 to 2019 equals about $3,822.
Okay, $3,000. So I was way off on the $40,000. So
yeah.
$3,000. So if you wanted to go buy a $500 Glock, you have to pay a $3,000 tax.
Yeah.
If they adjust for inflation.
Yeah. Even if they did that on suppressors, they'll kill that market.
It would kill anything.
Yeah. Only the very wealthy would get into suppressors at that point. Or a lot of people would be doing illegal stuff, I guess. But
Trump, based upon what he did with bump stocks, and we still haven't had our day in court yet, he can turn right around and do the exact same thing. He's using the exact same wording and verbiage that he used after Vegas regarding bump stocks.
Yeah.
And so I guarantee you, if the media keeps beating on that drum, Trump will go ahead and just tell his ATF director that he appointed, make them go away, and he'll make them go away.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, Philip1462 said, your average Joe can't afford a suppressor and a $200 tax stamp or a machine gun.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
It's no different than a poll tax. Taxing a right has already been decided by the Supreme Court to be unconstitutional. I don't remember what state it was, but they tried to impose a tax on a newspaper, and it went to the federal courts, and the Supreme Court decided that you couldn't tax the newspaper because that's free speech and you can't tax a right. So since that precedent already stands, why the NRA or somebody else hasn't challenged it and said, well, look, you said you can't tax a right. How in the world are you doing the NFA? And that's taxing a right. Because if you have a machine gun that doesn't have a tax paid on it, it's technically a tax violation that you're going to spend 10 years in prison for.
Yeah. Normally, we would have someone like the NRA up in arms. I think right now there's just no chance of that. That's just not happening.
Well, Hammer said the NRA never wanted us to have machine guns anyway.
Yeah.
They never fought for them.
Yeah.
NRA never cared.
Right. So, and I'm sure they aren't really too concerned with what's going on right now with suppressors, and then they've got a bunch of other things going on. There was some stuff in the news since last week. I don't know if you saw that. Some more stuff came out about the NRA money and stuff like that was being paid out to people. We spoke about that. I don't know if you have anything in there that you want to say.
I've seen some pretty interesting documents that are pretty bad. Some stuff that. The NRA is in deep trouble. Investigators are digging up some really, really bad stuff on them.
Right. Now, I know you were posting some of that, and that's different from what like some of the stuff I saw, for example, was talking about like a $3 million payout to Barnauls. I know I reached out to them, and they said that's directly associated to a company that had a deal with the NRA. So friends of the NRA, when people were doing shooting and stuff like that, they bought ammo, targets, etc. That's what happened with that. And then when Barnauls bought that company, that contract continued. But I know you were sharing some other stuff, right?
Well, I mean, not really. I mean,
Okay.
there's stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. Did you heard about like Rob Pincus and others?
Yeah, the
Subpoena?
subpoenas. Yes, that's what I saw. You posted that, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was you.
and
Right.
there's a whole bunch of stuff behind that that I'm not really privileged to talk about.
Okay.
Because it could potentially hurt them in their case and their position. So I don't want to get into any of that. So it's just that the NRA is currently trying to hush people up that have damaging evidence against them. And Rob said, you can go out there and repost anything I say. And there's other people that were subpoenaed, but what they're trying to do is by subpoenaing them and bringing them into this lawsuit with ACMAC is they're trying to basically sequester that information. That info, they don't want that information in the public domain.
Okay, and are they also trying to intimidate those people somewhat?
They're trying to intimidate them, and they're trying to make a matter of now it's an ongoing court case, and you're not supposed to release information that's part of a lawsuit that's being currently adjudicated or whatever you call it.
It's a legal maneuver basically to shut them up.
And it's strong arming, it's bullying, and it's damage control because the people they subpoenaed are people that have some really bad dirt on the NRA, and they're wanting them to produce these documents and stuff that shows this dirt. Because the NRA is trying to force their hand to see just how much bad information there is out there, and they're trying to silence those with that information. These are people that worked inside the NRA for a number of years. Rob Pincus worked very closely with the NRA for a number of years before he finally realized, what a scam company it is. And that's when he became quite vocal and started speaking out against them. And that's one of the reasons I suspect he got subpoenaed.
Okay.
Because he has a lot of skeletons in the closet he could point to.
Yeah, so this is going to get deeper. This isn't by no way over.
No, the NRA screwed, and it's got such inept management. They very well could lose their charter any day now in New York, which would be forcibly dissolve them as a company, and they would go away. And it could be so bad as that they would do that, and it could force a sale of the NRA, and Bloomberg could swoop in and buy the NRA. So, I mean, it's pretty bad, the situation they're in right now. The IRS is after them. They could lose their nonprofit status. There's a whole bunch of shady stuff that Wayne LaPierre tried to expense. I mean, it's just it's bad. It's really, really bad, and it's all trickling out. But it's what we've been saying for years. It's a corrupt organization that doesn't give two craps about your rights. They use them as bargaining chips so they can make a handful of people filthy rich and very powerful.
Yeah.
And Charlton Heston, everybody loved Charlton Heston, but that guy flew around on private jets, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on limousines and private jets when he traveled around the country because he was too good to sit even in first class with us poors. He had to travel with private security details on Lear jets and have limos waiting for him everywhere. And everybody's like, I wish we had Charlton Heston back. Find me a picture of Charlton Heston with an AK. Oh, that's right. He did a radio interview where he said AKs shouldn't be in the hands of civilians.
Yeah, we can get real deep. Joshua Levy gave us a couple of bucks. He says, I'm no fan of the NRA, but didn't they sue over the 86 ban?
No, they caused it.
Okay.
So, I don't think I have the graphic on my. No, if you actually look into it, so that's the Firearm Owners Protection Act that went through, and the Hughes Amendment was tacked onto it as a poison pill to kill the Firearm Owners Protection Act. And the NRA went to President Reagan, and at that time it was Wayne LaPierre. He was a lobbyist then, and he went to the president and said, sign this, just sign it. Accept the Hughes Amendment. The NRA will sue. This will never stand in court. They can't take away machine guns like that. We'll sue. We'll make it go away, but just go ahead and sign the Firearm Owners Protection Act and include the Hughes Amendment. And then they never once went to court, never once challenged it, never lifted a finger. And I have a screenshot of the NRA newspaper of the time of them, Wayne LaPierre and a couple other guys, gleefully walking off the steps of the Senate or the House, and all proud of themselves after what they had done. And no, they caused the 86 machine gun ban, and they promised to get it overturned, and they never lifted a finger. And they won't, because Marion Hammer, a former president and current lobbyist of the NRA, who is also paid currently by the NRA, came forth and said that the NRA never wanted you to have machine guns.
Right. I think she got paid, and some of the stuff I saw like over 600,000 just for consulting or lobbying fees or something like that.
Those rats are all they're doing is paying themselves a bunch of money under the table, left, right, and center, and it'll all come out. It's unfortunate, I wish the NRA was what everybody thought it was, because it would truly be an asset in our struggle to maintain and reclaim our Second Amendment rights. But the NRA doesn't care about your rights. They never have. All they want you to do is keep giving them money so Wayne LaPierre can eat caviar and fly around on private jets and spend $39,000 on suits and go to Russia and the Bahamas and everything else on your dime. It's horrific what they do.
Yeah. So here, let me switch over a little bit here just so we can cover a couple of things. I'm trying to find the article that I sent you because I wanted to talk about United Sporting Companies. So we briefly spoke about that in the intro, but I'll go over it again. I'll throw it up here for everyone. So this is you can find it on Truth About Guns, but basically this is one of the bigger companies out there that filed for bankruptcy. So here's the headline. Truth About Guns says, after betting big on guns in 2016, United Sporting Companies files for Chapter 11. United Sporting Companies, a large firearms distributor whose roots date back to the Great Depression, filed for bankruptcy protection on Monday and said it plans to liquidate, hurt by falling sales after President Donald Trump was elected and as Dick's Sporting Goods, Inc. Began to move away from firearms. United owns longtime distributor Ellett Brothers, which is embroiled in a lawsuit over allegations that the parent company drained it of cash. United also bought some of the remaining assets of bankrupt distributor AccuSport a year ago. And then there's some other companies that they own. Basically, these guys had the Hillary plan, right? Back in 2016. Let's buy a bunch of AR-15s. We'll just be able to sell them, for $2,000 or whatever things were going for when we had the firearm again back in 2013. So they stacked up on it, and then they were just waiting for Hillary to win instead of fighting for the Second Amendment, getting out there and trying to do something about this. But then that didn't happen.
Yep. So, I remember, we had and still do have a small gun shop. And I remember during the election, we had to have a meeting and we said, look, if Hillary wins, so in retail, if you have too much product, that can kill your business. And if you have too little product, that can kill your business. So you're always trying to strike that balance, right? So if Hillary had won, there would be a run on guns and ammunition, and we as a dealer would have empty shelves, and that would put us out of business. But if Trump won, then there would be plenty of guns because there would be no run on guns, right? So there were people out there making bets that they were listening to the media, and every poll was wrong that said Hillary was a clear victor in the coming presidential election. So a lot of companies made bad decisions. We decided, we're just going to maintain buying guns at the rate that we buy as fast as we can sell them. We're not going to overstock because Hillary might win, and we're just going to roll the dice. And if she wins, we'll just deal with it when that happens, if she does. And so, but I saw gun dealers out there making posts like, I hope Hillary wins because it'll guarantee me another 8 years of sales.
Shameful.
It's like, no, what that means is in 8 years, you're going to be selling single shot pistols and rifles.
Yeah.
My rights, I'd rather have, a bad couple of years financially as a business than to have no business at all and no rights at all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so I'm an FFL. I don't know if you know that, but Lola and I have been FFL SOTs for a couple of years now, probably going back to right before the elections. And I remember going through that, having that same talk. We're like a small mom and pop or, like home-based FFL. So we had that conversation because there were lots of people who were in the business saying, just go out and buy every lower that you can, man. And I was thinking to myself, first of all, we had this back in 2013. There's no way something like that can repeat again. It's not going to repeat that quickly, right? Because you had all these people that went out there and bought things. They bought things overpriced. They did it with credit and stuff like that. It's very difficult to have that happen quick, in a very short time space. But the real big thing to me was if I really believed that Hillary was going to win and then start attacking guns, my money would be better spent on other things instead of trying to go out there and rack up these things that more than likely she's just going to come into office and go, guess what? You can't have this anymore.
Yeah, true. You could have a whole bunch of inventory she bans that you can't do anything with, except like bump stocks destroy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, being in the firearms business is a very volatile thing, which sucks because it's a constitutionally protected right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like saying, can you imagine if you owned a newspaper and every day you went to work, you're like, oh man, the government may shut us down any day. That's literally what we do in the Second Amendment community.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Every morning I wake up and look at my phone to see if I still have a YouTube channel, an Instagram account, a Facebook page, because at any moment, they can turn us off. They don't agree with our politics, and and it's not even our politics. It's just our belief in our constitutional rights.
Yeah. The crazy thing about it is that it is covered by the Constitution. Your phones aren't covered by that.
No.
But if all of a sudden the phones went away or the internet went away, I think we would see rioting in the streets. It would be a zombie apocalypse. But something that's covered by the Constitution, it's so weird that the people that have something that's covered by the Constitution have to live in fear. It's like, what if the newspapers were worried about that?
Yeah, it'd be a completely different story. It's anything but firearms.
Mm-hmm.
When it goes back to the bump stock case that I'm involved in, we would have been given a stay if it was an issue, anything other than firearms. Mm-hmm. If it was the First Amendment issue, if it was an abortion issue, if it was any other issue, we would have been given a stay until the courts decided whether or not the bump stock ban was legal. Mm-hmm. But because it was related to firearms, even the SCOTUS said no.
Yeah.
Surrender, destroy them.
Yeah.
And then court and you little whores just go fight for your thing, and the court will decide against you, and just shut up and go away, pay your taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's bad, man.
Do you think we're going to see other companies going into the same thing? I mean, I think when I was looking at the numbers here, it was like $270 million or something like that it tied up here. So I'm not going to say that's the biggest. I'm sure there's companies out there with carrying more debt than that, but that's a lot.
It is. And it's already put a lot of companies out of business. We called it the Trump slump. Mm-hmm. When he won, gun sales stopped for almost the first year. Mm-hmm. People were 8 years of panic buying under Obama. They'd maxed their cards out. They had acquired collections of guns that they'd buying things they didn't even really want, but they were buying for a lifetime in their minds.
Yeah.
And so then when Trump got in office, everybody, gun owners as a whole, anytime a Republican gets elected, they just go to sleep. Mm-hmm. They pretend like that Republican is going to protect their rights. And almost all the bad gun laws that have passed have done so under Republican leadership, because gun owners just, for whatever stupid reason, think that Republicans have their best interests in mind, and they're all pro Second Amendment, and they're not. Republicans and Democrats both are anti-gun. Mm-hmm. So
we were active, though. We were active when Obama was in the White House. It seems like we need some kind of enemy out there.
Well, that's just it. When a Democrat's in office, gun owners are scared of Democrats. Yeah. They're not scared of Republicans.
Right.
And the reality is they need to be scared of both, because Reagan gave us the 86 machine gun ban. Bush 41 gave us the 89 import ban. You got Trump. He's done more damage in 3 years than Obama did in 8. It was not for a lack of trying by Obama. Mm-hmm. It's just because gun owners were politically active when he was president. Mm-hmm. But Trump, the bump stock ban, now he's got his sights set on suppressors. And if he gets reelected, God knows what he'll go after then. Mm-hmm. Republicans aren't our friends automatically. You cannot assume Republican means pro-gun, because historically speaking, that's not the case. It's not true.
Yeah, I always worry about whoever's in power, man. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what they have at the end of the day.
In general, people ask me, what party are you affiliated with? And I say, I'm a registered Republican in my state, because if I want to vote in a primary, I have to pick one of the two major parties.
Yeah.
I can't vote in a primary as Libertarian.
Yeah, Florida has that craziness also. I know. So we were Democrats for a while. I'm from New York, so yeah, you can go ahead and put me in that Democrat category. But when I moved here,
Democrats, we're actually good. You go back to JFK and before. Democrats weren't always the far left socialist lunatics that they are today.
Yeah. Well, that's not. Here's the reason why. Remember, I'm an immigrant, so being like someone that came from another country, I grew up in New York. That's what I did when I got my citizenship back in 2003. I was living in New Jersey. Now, when I moved to Florida and I started learning about guns and all that kind of stuff, the Second Amendment, when I really started digging into it, I wanted to change, but I wanted to go independent. Florida has that same law you're talking about. As a matter of fact, Lola switched to independent, and what happened is every time we had a primary, I could vote. She couldn't vote on anything unless there was an independent running. So
Right.
I just stayed, because to me it didn't matter what it was. I stayed at that for a long time. This last election, I actually switched it over to Republican, because I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I was too
I
ashamed
don't know
to have
what
that D thing anymore. But
Yeah. I just do it because I have to pick one. They're both bad,
Yeah.
so I just picked one that's maybe a little not as bad as the other one. I mean,
Right.
they're both
They're
I
terrible.
take them equally.
Yeah, they're terrible. So, and then whenever we have this conversation, we had this conversation last week, right? We're gonna probably have this next week again. Someone sends me a message or starts, hit me up on social. So you're gonna vote for Bernie? No. I mean, this is like, I'm gonna vote. I don't know about anyone else, but I know what my family gave up, what we went through to be here in America, and what it took for me to become a citizen. So I'm voting no matter what. I think it's really important to vote, especially when it comes to local stuff. When it comes to the president, I'm going to vote for that. But right now, I'm at the point where I couldn't, based on what's happened with Trump, I couldn't vote for Trump. That doesn't mean I'm going to vote for Bernie or anyone else that's out there. That's why even like last week, we actually had on someone from the Libertarian Party, Adam Kokesh. I don't think you know who that is, probably.
No.
He's the guy. Do you ever remember in the news there was a guy that was in front of the Capitol in D.C. with a shotgun and he loaded it?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
That's Adam Kokesh. He was here on the show. He's running as a Libertarian for president in 2020. He's a Marine. He's lost his gun rights, though, leading.
Oh, yeah, he's a felon.
Yeah. After all that stuff, he lost his gun rights. He's very interesting. I'm not saying I'm going to vote for him either, because the gist of him coming on here is he said when he wins, his first act is going to be to dismantle government in America. But he said that's going to take like 10 years. Yeah, he says
he understands how the presidency works.
No, I think I don't think he's actually serious about winning, but I think he's making some good points. Like even what you were saying when you came on, that government's not supposed to be this big.
Right. It's not.
Yeah.
We need to reassert states' rights, and we need to put the federal government back in its box.
Yeah.
The federal government needs to come to the states. The states, which should voluntarily support the federal government, and being taxed at the state level, I'm fine with. I am not fine with income tax at the federal level. It's unconstitutional. They had to pass an amendment to get it to do it, and I'm not even satisfied in how that vote was conducted. So I am totally against. I think taxation is theft, and at the federal level, the federal government, in my mind, has no right to tax me whatsoever, and that leaves it to the states, and that goes back to one of the core principles of America is competition. Free markets. So if I don't like the laws of Indiana, I'll move to Florida. And if enough people leave Indiana, then they're going to change their laws. If they have high taxes, they're going to lower them, try to get people to come back and get businesses to come back. It's that competition. It's when you take away the competition, you have socialism and everything is all flat and equal, and nobody's rich, nobody's poor, and there's no middle class. Everybody's the same. There's no innovation. There's no freedom. There's no nothing. And so what I want is the federal government put back in its box, and I want the states having all the power. And then if I don't like the state I'm in, I'm going to vote with my wallet, and I'm going to move to a state that has laws and taxes and schools and whatnot that are favorable to me, that I want. And that is how our republic was intended to be. And they've totally neutered it and screwed it up. And now we got the Democrats going out there saying they want to get rid of the Electoral College. And the millennials don't even understand the importance of the Electoral College.
Also, they think that's going to benefit them.
And then once they do that, America will become a socialist crap hole just like Venezuela. They'll do it. They'll get it through, because I don't know. I haven't obviously been to high school in a long time, but I'd be surprised if they even teach what the Electoral College is and the importance of it in our republic. Because they're still teaching students today that we live in a democracy, which is complete and utter horseshit. I mean, pardon my French. When Trump was overseas giving a D-Day speech, he for once referred to our country as a republic. I was blown away. Both me and Jason were listening to it on the radio. We're driving out to film. We're like, he actually said republic, because every single politician on the planet, well, in the United States, says we live in a democracy. They want a democracy. That would be eliminating the Electoral College.
He had a good speechwriter for sure, man.
They want the mob to be able to oppose their will on the others. But our founding fathers put a safety measure in there called the Electoral College that keeps Chicago from governing Valparaiso, Indiana, with its politics.
Yeah.
And that's the Electoral College. It's an important checks and balance in our republic. We don't have a democracy. I don't want a democracy. It's basically anarchy. And I don't want that because it doesn't work.
So let me ask you this. I'm not trying to get you to tell people how to vote because I don't believe in that. Everyone needs to make up their mind. Can you give us a little bit of like what would Mac do? How would you think? Not how would you vote, but how would you approach this whole thing and think about it as we near that? It's not heated up yet, but it's going to happen.
So here's how I approach every election. I don't vote for anybody. I vote against somebody.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I would vote against Biden. He's an idiot. I'd vote against Bernie because he's a communist, and I think he should be, never mind.
Yeah, he wants to make us a socialist democracy, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's just a communist. I mean, he's just straight up. The man did his honeymoon in the 80s in Moscow. I mean, back then you get blackballed, wouldn't even be let back in the country. How did he pull that off? The man is a communist, and he wants to make us all communists.
Right.
I would vote against him. Mm-hmm. So the reality is Trump is probably the only candidate running that has a chance of beating. If we vote third party, there's not enough people that are going to vote third party because American politics has been distilled down to basically the equivalent of a sports game, right? Yeah, you either support the Mets or you support the Yankees, right? And you're a diehard Mets fan or you're a diehard Yankees fan.
You're the white hat or the black hat or whatever the nonsense. Yeah.
Oh, and that's what American politics have been reduced to. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to convince enough Republicans or Democrats to vote third party because they're diehard. Man, I've been a Democrat my entire life. I've been a Republican my entire life. So we're locked into, unless we take some sort of, we get a convention of the states together and we forcibly disband the two-party system and make it illegal or force a third party or fourth party in as a checks and balance, we're just kind of screwed. So if you don't vote for Trump, you're pretty much giving your vote to whoever the Democrats put up, right? So if I take a look at what Trump's done, he's done a lot of good in terms of trade. He's done a lot of good in terms of the economy. We've had lowest numbers in terms of job unemployment in like 50 years. He's done good stuff. When it comes to stuff you and I care about, the Second Amendment, he's been crapping all over us. So I have to think bigger picture.
Yeah. Also, he's gonna theoretically get to put in at least one other Supreme Court, right? Sit someone on the Supreme Court, maybe. I don't know that it's done anything, but he's put like what is it, 2 people in there already?
2 people so far. Yeah.
So that's not a part of okay.
Appointees. Neither one of them are Scalia's, and he was only kind of sort of pro 2A.
Okay, so that's not the Supreme Court is not part of the equation.
Kavanaugh, or his appointments. And neither one of them have a strong Second Amendment record that you can find anywhere.
Okay, all right.
If well, I mean, take a look what they did with the Kettler case. They voted. I would like to see what their votes were. I'm assuming they voted not to hear it.
Yeah. Well, also the Trump administration asked them not to take it up. So.
Well, see, there you go. They politicized the courts, and that in and of itself is a major problem for our republic. When the courts are politicized, we're done as a nation.
Yeah.
And politicized.
Yeah. So this is something that we all have to think about, no matter what it comes down to. I know I'm going to vote.
I vote I vote every election.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you don't vote, you have no right to complain.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me throw this super chat up here. This is from DCG44s. He says USC thing involved fraud by the holding company of Elliott and Jerry's, not economic issues. I think it's multiple things with that.
Yeah, I'm not following it all that closely.
Yeah.
All I know is during this next election run up, I'm not going to, as a shareholder in a gun store, I'm not going to recommend to my business partner we go out and buy a bunch of guns in case, whoever the front runner is, gets elected as a Democrat. You can't, man. Yeah. That's not
a good idea. Here's where I think people should invest. People in the industry, not just the stores. Invest on making people aware of what's going on.
Yeah, get active in your communities. At gun store levels, gun stores should be active in their communities. They should be going to charity events that are held locally and doing all sorts of stuff and make themselves like we have a cruise night here in town, and it draws in hundreds of cars and hundreds of people. It fills up a massive area every Friday night, and Copper Customs there with the table.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, we're out there actively involved with the community,
talking to those folks,
firearms, letting people know that, hey, we're all gun owners. You're among gun owners. When you're at a car cruise, there's a good chance 30% of the people there or more are carrying a firearm.
Yeah.
And it's normal.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help, at least in our own community. And we all need to do that because that's how we maintain our culture. We have to be actively involved in our local communities. Mm-hmm. And if we're not, we're going to lose our culture. We're going to lose our rights. We're going to lose our country.
Yeah. So, and now here's one of the things I noticed. There were a couple of marches last year when we got this terrible gun control stuff here in Florida on the State House. And there weren't a lot of people that showed up. And the biggest thing missing from that were gun stores.
That's amazing to me.
It was amazing to me. I couldn't believe it. Every gun store. I shouldn't say every gun store in Florida should show up, but they should be massively represented because these are things that directly affect them. But yet they didn't show up.
Yep. Even in our gun store, we took a political position which could harm our own business. But when we were electing a sheriff the last time around, we campaigned for the pro-gun sheriff. Mm-hmm. The guy running for sheriff, unfortunately, lost by less than 100 votes, I think. But so now the sheriff's department has the Democrat in it, and he's anti-gun. And by us actively campaigning for his opponent, he doesn't want to do business with us.
Yeah, that's always a problem.
Yeah, but we don't care. Mm-hmm. We have to do what's right. Mm-hmm. Right. So you have to prioritize things, profits and freedom. Mm-hmm. Right. Freedom trumps all. Mm-hmm. If I had to live in a cardboard box, I'd rather live as a free man in a cardboard box than live rich and have zero rights.
If you're not free, you're not going to be able to have that money anyway. We're going to be living as socialists.
Anyway, right? Yeah. I mean, but it's to me, there's a greater good. And look, our time on this planet's finite, right? Mm-hmm. We don't live forever. Mm-hmm. And my thing is I have 3 children, and I want to leave this country in a better place than when I found it. Mm-hmm. And I'm scared to death that my kids are going to wind up living in a socialist cesspool like Venezuela because of Bernie Sanders is going to get elected and more AOCs are going to get elected. And this nation's going to fall. All great nations fall. Mm-hmm. All of them fall. And my children may live to see that fall. Hell, I may live to see it. And that really does scare me, man.
Yeah.
And,
that's when we need the Patriots to stand up, man. At that point, it can fall, but it can rise again.
That line gets crossed, and we have to invoke the Second Amendment, and we have to take our government back. Mm-hmm. But everybody has a different mindset of what that line is.
Yeah.
Right. I've talked to folks that said, man, if they ban suppressors, I'm calling everybody I know, and we're making a stand. They're not taking my suppressors away. Mm-hmm. That's that particular person's stand. Mm-hmm. Other people say if they ever pass another assault weapons ban and they do confiscation, that's my line in the sand. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to, go someplace and we're going to bunker up and we're going to fight and we're not going to give them up. Everybody has that line in the sand. And it seems like it's all over the place.
Yeah, that's the problem. Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, I don't know, you should know Brandon Herrera.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, he says the idea that gun stores would be afraid of opposing gun control blows my mind. You know what's funny, Mac? There's lots of on top. Before you answer that, there's also lots of manufacturers in Florida. I didn't see one manufacturer at those things.
That's unreal.
So that's worse. I saw like 2 gun stores out of all the gun stores in Florida, but I saw 0 manufacturers.
And you have a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's a ton of manufacturers here. Even some that, get out there and talk like they're all super 2A. And as a matter of fact, I've spoken to some of them. At SHOT Show, for example, I was talking to one of them. I don't know if I want to bring up their name because that's not really super important here. But I was talking to them about the gun control that went into effect in Florida. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, they don't care, man.
Yeah.
So you have profiteers that see an opportunity to make money in the firearms space. Then you have true activists like ourselves that it's more than just, it's all encompassing for us. Like I wake up every day thinking about firearms and the Second Amendment and freedom and First Amendment and constitutional rights. And there's some people that just don't care. They wake up and think, oh man, Bears game tonight. Mm-hmm. They don't care about anything bigger than that.
What's the reason for that?
McDonald's runs out of cheese for their cheeseburger.
Yeah, but what is the reason for that? I mean, I know for me, I think about this a lot because I was born in a third world country. It's a socialist country. They pretend to be whatever, but it's basically a socialist country. That's why my parents left. They understood that. And I've lived in places like Nigeria. I've even lived in England. So I know what comes out of all of this stuff. And that's what really, really worries me, right? I don't want to go back and live in any of those places I've lived in or traveled in the world.
So what allowed our nation to become so powerful and so great in the beginning? Mm-hmm. You know, when we founded the nation, we had oceans on both sides, and we had made peace with our northern and southern neighbors, right? So we established our nation, we made peace with our two neighbors, and we had oceans apart from all the hostilities that have been going on for thousands of years in Europe mm-hmm. and other places in every major continent, you know. Asia, Africa, Europe, all of them have been in endless wars. Mm-hmm. And we were somewhat shielded from that. And to this day, we're still shielded from that. And so it's kind of like we're Rome. Rome got so big, it didn't really have any adversaries except the Germanic tribes and the barbarians. The people in Rome stopped worrying about being good soldiers and fighting for the Republic, and they started worrying about the arts. And, you know, fine dining and making nice wine and how lavishly they could live. And next thing you know, they're overrun by a bunch of barbarians. So that's what's happening to us is we become so powerful because 2% or 3% of our population steps up and says, you know, I'll serve. Mm-hmm. The rest of the people that benefit from those men and women that stand on that wall and protect what freedom we have left, the people that are being protected, they're like, wow, man, let's go get a cup of coffee and watch a movie. Mm-hmm. They don't worry about the people that are over fighting and dying in Afghanistan right now because of 9/11. They don't worry about that because they're shielded from it. There is no draft. And they can just live in a bubble and be free thinkers and be artists and be all these things other than productive members of society that actually contribute to the greater good of the republic, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And so they don't care about their rights. Like, somebody used a suppressor to commit a crime. Yeah, just ban that.
Yeah, what do we need it for? Yeah.
Right. You know, at one point, we actually went so far as to ban alcohol. I mean, even in Europe, they didn't do something that stupid, and we did it in the 30s. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and spawned a lot of crime.
John did it. Actually, we did it in the 20s, but that stupid move gave rise to organized crime in the United States to this day we're still dealing with mm-hmm. from that one stupid move in the 20s.
Yeah, I think it all has to do with fear, and I'm not saying people should live in fear. I personally don't believe in like you living in a constant state of fear. But fear is very important though. That thing that you're talking about that a long time ago we would have had, right? When we were just like living in villages and stuff like that, we were thinking more about, man, what if some dudes just show up outside the village, you know? Or what if they show up here at night? We were thinking about it. It was the back of our mind, and someone did that, and we made sure there was someone out there looking, right? At night, there was someone that was out there vigilantly looking to see who was going to try to sneak up on us. And just now we don't have any kind of fear.
No. The generation now, they don't need to hunt. They just go to the supermarket. They think meat grows on trees apparently, and it's packaged somewhere. They have no idea the animal actually dies and somebody's actually killing it for them. To them, they're repulsed by their own food source. They don't hunt. They do everything other than actually something productive to further the republic. And I'm not saying it's all Americans, but it's a growing number of Americans. They're just apathetic. Mm-hmm. All they care about is waking up, playing a video game, smoking some pot, and hanging out with their friends at night. And that's all they want to do. Mm-hmm. And generations previous to that thought, no, man, there was national pride, and we're going to make America great. We're going to build, towers. We're going to build ships. We're going to have a massive navy, and we're going to accomplish things. We're going to find cures for diseases, and we're going to do this. And there was this capitalistic drive to achieve. And that's back when they actually had sports where there were winners and losers, and people didn't get participation awards. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're cultivating a generation of just
wussies.
man,
Go ahead.
What I want to say, I can't say. You know what I mean? But it's a bunch of soy boys. It's just a bunch of pathetic lumps of flesh that do nothing except leech off the society and the hard work of others.
Yeah. If you never take a blow,
Bernie Sanders, because they promise free shit.
Yeah, absolutely. If you never take a blow, right? If you're a person in your life, no one's ever punched you in the face. If you never take that blow,
I know it's cricket for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple. If you never lose, if you don't lose something, if you don't have to work hard for something, if you don't have to struggle, I'm not trying to say that people shouldn't enjoy things. I'm not trying to say I'm a creative person. I consider myself an artist somewhat. I'll say that I have some nice things, but struggle is part of life. I have that conversation with my boys all the time when they're both in college, and they ask me like, why is it all our friends have to just drink all the time and be high all the time? And I say to them, that's because some people think that you have to like live up here all the time. You have to win all the time, and that's not life. It goes up and down, and you have to know how to be able to handle that. You're not always going to win. Things aren't always going to be fun or easy for you. You have to know how to come up against those things and deal with it and survive through that and struggle and build things, and then you appreciate it when you're doing well. But you can't be afraid to like lose everything and go right back down either, because that's what makes you bend to people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I mean, that's all you can do is try to pass those values on to our children. But, people that think like we do are becoming more and more the minority because they're being lured in by people promising them free stuff. And it's just mind numbing. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in my lifetime, I went from when America was at its mightiest, when we were one of two superpowers. Then when the Soviet Union crumbled, we were the only superpower. Mm-hmm. And now you have Russia and China. Even during the Cold War, man, Russia and China didn't have good relations. Mm-hmm. Now Russia and China are aligning themselves against us. Collectively, their economies dwarf ours. Mm-hmm. We're screwed.
Yeah, and they need us to buy stuff. They need us to buy stuff, right? This is the funny thing about all this. They need us to buy their stuff. They're not buying their own things.
No. But they also are stepping up onto the world stage to challenge our superiority. Mm-hmm. There was a time when America threatened to land the Marines. People like, oh yeah, okay, don't do that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk. Let's negotiate this out. Mm-hmm. But when that threat doesn't matter anymore because the enemy is much bigger and more powerful, both economically and militarily than you are, and you're no longer that superpower. Now you have to bow to their whim because then they're the ones that are going to threaten you. And you either say, let them make good on the threat, or you come to the negotiation table at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. And we've lost that advantage because we have, a bunch of people that just simply don't care. They don't see the threat that China poses. They don't see the threat that Russia poses. They're just like, oh, let's all hug and be friends. And the Chinese and the Russians like, yeah, let's hug and be friends. But they got a dagger they're about to stab you in the back with, but they're too stupid to see it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I can't believe we're heading into a second Cold War. And I guess we just don't have enough people alive that remember the first one. It's
going to be interesting to see what happens. Even in China, like I see these mega cities and stuff like that they're building that people don't even want to live in. It's going to be interesting to see how that all folds out.
Do you know they completely erased Tiananmen Square? Mm-hmm. They just erased it. It doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. Because that was a symbol of resistance to the communist regime. Mm-hmm. And so they just wiped it out. No more Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
And if you want to go there, you can go to where it was, but Tiananmen Square doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no symbols like that. And then they replaced that with a bunch of they just bring famous buildings from other places around the world and put it up in cities. Like
it's revisionist history and it's erasing history. And that's exactly the same thing that the Bernie Sanders supporters of this nation are doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. They're going through and systematically doing like the Taliban does and erasing U.S. history. Mm-hmm. U.S. history doesn't have to be all roses. Yeah, the U.S. has done some really screwed up stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? There are people that fought on the wrong side of arguments, and there's horrible things that we did to Native Americans, and there's, the whole slavery issue. There's a whole bunch of crap that America did that we're not to be proud of, but you can't erase that history.
You have to see it.
If you erase it, you're going to repeat it.
Yes. Yeah. You have to see it. You have to know why it was wrong. You have to know what it cost. What did it take to get out of that? That's the only way that you're going to be able to avoid that. If we come to a place in the world where like I think this was like a week ago, definitely sometime last week, we were celebrating D-Day. If you come to a place in the world where people forget that Auschwitz existed and they think that that's some kind of conspiracy, then we've got serious problems if they don't realize like what those guys that got on those ships, to storm the beaches of Normandy were facing, that basically you're going to die. You're on this ship. This is the end of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Those brave guys stepped into withering German machine gun fire. Mm-hmm. I mean, they called it the greatest generation, and that's not to downplay our current soldiers and war fighters, but man, they didn't have very good medical field, doctors and hospitals and stuff. I mean, they couldn't just life flight them to a world-class medical place. Like my buddy, who's my cameraman, he got wounded by an IED in Mosul, and he was quickly life flighted to a field hospital, then moved quickly to Germany where he could have proper medical attention. And during he probably would be minus an eye and may not even be here. But so things have changed. But yes, what those soldiers did, and the support behind those soldiers, the nurses and the corpsmen and all the other stuff that helped all those people fight those battles were tremendously brave. But they had to, because fascism is socialism. I mean, there's really no difference between the two. It just goes by a different name. It's the National Socialist Workers' Party. That's what the Nazis were. And people lose sight of that. The Bernie Sanders of the world are modern day Hitlers. I mean, they might not have the same ideas about exterminating people because they're either, of a certain race or certain political belief or a certain religion, but he has the same principles, right?
Yeah, everyone has to. When you're forcing everyone to think exactly the same way, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah, when everybody gets the same car, is a lot of the same amount of food, lives in the exact same housing type blocks, so there's no rich, there's no poor, there's no desire to achieve.
Yeah,
it's just a desire to be equal. Everybody, I just want to.
Nobody's beautiful. Nobody's strong.
Guy next to my left and right. I don't ever want to achieve greater.
Yeah,
I just want to be comfortable. Government make me comfortable. No, I'm a free market capitalist. I want the opportunity to go out there and earn the money to buy a bigger house, to earn the money to buy whatever, right? And that's what drives innovation. That's how we're going to find a cure for cancer. That's how we found cures for, typhoid and malaria and all the other stuff that we've cured over the years. It wasn't because of socialism. It was because of free market capitalism that we were able to defeat these things and put men on the moon and all the other things that we've achieved as a nation that we never would have achieved if we were a socialist communist state.
The other thing I'd like to say before we move on from this too is, obviously there were people that were fighting back in Europe against the Nazis, right? Obviously, the people in France and all that were fighting back. Imagine, but still, what turned the tide here is these Americans that landed on the beach, right? And were willing to risk their lives, and they came with guns and stuff like that. What happens in the world when you've got entire states, entire countries that are gun-free zones, and then other people out there that don't care about those things decide, we're taking this over right here?
Yeah.
What happens then?
You can do.
Yeah. How do you reverse that then?
Yeah, it's It's
going to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you reverse those things? If people show up like on the beaches of Florida here, and Florida is a gun-free zone, and dudes just show up on the beach and they're like, hey, by the way, this is ours. Now what do you do?
Yeah, well, you're not going to fight back, and that's originally what, after they attacked the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, the admiral made a famous saying, the Japanese admiral is like, if we invaded mainland, he said, I think we may have woken a sleeping giant or something like that. But there was a Japanese general, my World War II history is off or failing me at the moment, but said, we can never invade the American mainland because there would be a rifleman behind every blade of grass. They know that's the reason we had the CMP, the civilian marksmanship program. It was intended to take military rifles and make them available to civilians. If they went and got the training on how to use them, then here's your M1 Garand, or here in an ideal America, here's your M16. It was the same principle that the Swiss still use. So they take their military weapons home with them. They get to keep them for life, but now they're dealing with their own BS gun law. But that's one of the things that made America great. We were isolated by 2 oceans, and we had a strong culture of, men and women that would take a stand, that were armed, that would defend this nation if need be. That's the militia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you take the militia away, and Russia and China could just land on the shores and just steamroll New York. What are they going to do? Beat them off with a bunch of, dildos and bongs? I mean, what are they going to do?
I don't know. It's like this. Look, if you're talking to some SJWs out there, and they probably believe, there's lots of folks out there that believe you shouldn't declaw cats, right? Because if you do that and your cats are out there, they're not going to be able to defend them. This is a serious thing.
Right.
They think this is a horrible thing to do, and I agree with them. What if you declaw yourself? What if you defang yourself, and then you don't have the ability, you don't have any claws anymore? Right. That's the thing that people have to think about here. That's what we're up against. Not just from invading people. There's creatures that live around us that would take us over if we really allow that. I know people think, oh, that's a big stretch. It happens every day. The people are out there walking and something attacks them, and they've got to hope that, you see it in the news, right? This guy's a hero because he fought off a bobcat. I don't want to fight a bobcat. I want to shoot him.
Yeah, I don't want to wrestle with him. I just want to shoot him and be on my way.
Yeah, I don't want to fight him. I just want to put bullets in him.
It's a cultural thing, though. It's our children are being indoctrinated from grade school all the way up through college to believe that guns are bad. That you have constant efforts. I've even had medical professionals ask me, like when I went into the ER for stitches, the stupid questions I was asked down in Georgia just blew my mind. Like, is your home a safe space? So what the hell kind of question is that? Well, you have to answer yes or no. And I was like, yes, my home's a safe space.
What the hell is that? What's safe? Where are we safe?
I was just blown away because in Indiana they don't ask you those stupid questions, but some of these weird states, they'll ask you, are there any firearms in your home? Yeah. That's none of your damn business. But the point is people have come to view firearms as a liability, not a tool for liberty.
Right.
And that's being taught to our children against my will and yours all the way through college.
Yeah, there's a decided effort for the medical community to figure out whether or not we have guns. Okay, I'm going to take this. Here's a comment from Armament and Axis. He gave us a couple of $5. He says, I was talking with a couple of recent high school grads that didn't know about D-Day or the concentration camps. I just shook my head. Yeah.
And that's unbelievable.
They probably know about Game of Thrones or something, which, hey, I know about it too, but yeah, you should.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They know that, and they can tell you what Kim Kardashian wore yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing that I don't know how we win, because it's just gotten worse throughout my entire life, where the school systems are teaching our children to be socialists, and to accept government oversight.
But everyone
help. And another thing, you're talking about what the Nazis did to the Jews, but people don't talk about that all that often. People rarely talk about what Stalin did to his own people. He killed far more people than Hitler did in terms of extermination camps. He did it for different reasons, but Stalin murdered millions of people. Pol Pot murdered millions of people.
Yeah, Che Guevara.
Millions of people. I mean, it's
Idi Amin.
Yep, Idi Amin, and all these actors that have murdered millions of their own people have one thing in common: they're socialist communists.
Yeah.
And so when Bernie Sanders stands up and goes, "Oh, but wait, we're not a socialist, we're a democratic socialist," like, oh, that's like jumbo shrimp. It's an oxymoron. There is no good socialist. It always ends the same way: death, destruction, starvation, and loss of rights. It never ends good for the people. Yeah. And if you don't believe it, go ask Rob Ski. He grew up in communist Poland. He'll tell you how much it sucked. You have your own stories.
Yeah.
Of what it was like.
No one who's really seen that wants to go back to that. That's crazy. Who has seen communism, socialism at work and wants to go back to that? A lot of these actors, you notice now, and I know we're like running over time, but here's the thing. There's a whole bunch of actors now. American superheroes. Actors are not even Americans playing those parts. They're all these British dudes, right? And dudettes. And those guys are leaving England and coming here. They're leaving other parts of the world and coming here because where they live, they're taxed to death. So even they don't want that. Even they don't want that, and yet we think somehow if we make the whole world like that, it's going to be awesome. You're going to have nowhere to run. Okay, I know that you've been out doing a whole bunch of stuff, and we're over the 9 o'clock hour. Do you want to take one more thing, or you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, if you got a question there that you think is good, we can do one more thing. And we can wrap it.
Yeah, there's one more thing. I'll just show this because I know we've probably talked a little bit about this, but I'll throw it up here on the screen. Basically, shooting. So this is what it says. This is on the Hill. Shooting victims could sue gun industry under Democrats' legislation. So I'll quickly read through that, but they've been trying to push bills like this for a long time. Congressional Democrats on Tuesday unveiled legislation that would grant victims of gun violence the right to sue members of the firearms industry, NPR reported.
Well, first you're going to have to show me an instance of gun violence, because I have guns all around me and not a single one of them has ever committed an act of violence. I mean, how does an inanimate object commit an act of violence?
Right.
So we have a law on the books right now that protects. So if they do that to firearms manufacturers, they open Pandora's box. So now every time somebody dies in a Chevy Volt accident, you can go sue Chevy for it.
Yeah.
They understand what they're doing. And their quest to take guns away just so they can have the feather in their cap, they're going to open up Pandora's box that's going to put all businesses at jeopardy. And it could destroy all businesses. Mm-hmm. They're frickin' idiots.
It's insane.
And anybody that supports it doesn't have two brain cells to rub together.
Yeah. Where's the human responsibility in this? That's what I don't understand. The fact that they're even still floating this.
That's just it. We're raising a generation of children to think that it's not my fault, it's somebody else's. I'm poor not because of my actions, but because of you did it to me. Mm-hmm. You're keeping me down. You're oppressing me. And you find any number of ways to say, oh, I would like to go get a job, but I can't because, so-and-so's done this to me. Or, there's always, it's passing the buck and blaming somebody else. There's no sense of personal accountability in America anymore.
Yeah.
It's dwindling. There are certainly people that have it, but it's becoming fashionable just to blame somebody else. Mm-hmm. I can't achieve greatness because, so-and-so, my next door neighbor, won't let me.
Yeah. If you think this is a good thing, then prepare yourself to have nothing. Because this isn't going to end, anything like this, as Mac is saying, it's not going to end at guns. If it happens, I don't think there's any way that they can do something like this. But they're doing a lot of crap that they should have no way of doing.
Let them get rid of the Electoral College, and then you'll see stupid stuff like that passing. And that's America's got 20 years tops, and then we'll be overrun by barbarians. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Canadians could get drunk and pissed after a hockey game and just storm our borders and take us over.
Yeah, it could happen. It could happen then. But everything.
I love our Canadian neighbors.
Everything will get blamed for everything that happens. You'd have music being blamed. Video games are blamed. This guy read this book.
Tried that when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. They tried to blame video games for violence and music for violence, mm-hmm. and they had people playing records backwards, looking for hidden lyrics and words, and it's just insanity. Mm-hmm. It's that element's always been present in our society, and one thing that I discovered at a fairly young age is my mom and I went to Washington, D.C., and I went to my senator's office, and at the time it was Bob Dole. And he wasn't there, but I got to sit at his desk and eat M&Ms out of a bowl and look at his walls. And all his walls were lined with bills that he sponsored or co-sponsored mm-hmm. and passed.
Okay.
And I was young, and I looked at my mom, and I saw all these bills, and I looked at my mom and I said, every single one of these laws that he sponsored or co-sponsored and passed was another infringement on liberty. Mm-hmm. I would be more impressed if I walked into a senator's office and he had or she had walls full of all the bills they undone.
They killed,
they undone.
Right.
Freedoms that were given back. Mm-hmm. That would impress me. I'm not impressed. When your job is to go to work every day and try to find another way to further restrict somebody's ability to do something, that sucks.
Yeah.
But our politicians pride themselves on how many laws they can pass. We have a Library of Congress that's so stinking big it takes up a city block of laws, most of which we don't even know exist.
Mm-hmm. But they'll use it against you when the time comes.
Pass more laws.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
The thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's my thing I think about politicians. They're not in the business of solving problems. They're in the business of creating so many problems that you continue forever to think that you need them.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know,
That enrich themselves and have power.
yeah, they're not here to simplify things, to fix things. They're here to make things more difficult and to keep making your life so difficult that you think you cannot personally handle your life yourself. You need these guys to manage it for you. Then basically that's slavery. So if you're against slavery, that's slavery. You know?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Okay, listen, man, I'm sure you're tired. I don't want to, I don't want to keep you up. I know you've been going all day. We should probably wrap it up here.
Yeah.
I want to remind the folks who, if you're listening to this, I think we're just doing it on my channel today. If you're listening to this, make sure you support Mac. He's on Patreon, but also make sure you're subscribed to Military Arms channel. Are you at 1 million yet? You should know.
Not there, man.
Yeah, we got to get you to 1 million.
If you have Facebook or it's FB, it's something buddy.
Right.
You can kind of like track everybody's like subscriptions and stuff and where you stand based. We're all trending down. It's like YouTube has found another way through algorithms to squash all of our reach. Some creators that used to get 1,500 new subs a day are getting less than 200.
Damn.
And it just fell off like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's like YouTube has found another algorithm to find a way to squash us. So it'll probably take me 5 or 6 years to get the next 50,000 to make it to 1 million. So
yeah, we got to override that somehow, guys. I want to see you get that. What is it? A golden thing or whatever. I want to see you machine gun that thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna tannerite it or something.
I want to see it happen.
I can find my silver one. I think I threw it in the trash.
Oh, okay.
But I've been looking for it. I don't know what I did with it because I was gonna, shoot it or something, but I can't find it. But when I do get the gold one, if I ever make it that far, if they don't, deplatform us before then, I definitely will find something creative and entertaining to do with it.
Okay, so how can people out there support you? For all the folks who are listening to this,
just go by militaryarmschannel.com. That'll point right to my YouTube page. In the description, there's a link to Patreon. We're 100% viewer supported. We don't take any money from the industry. After Adpocalypse happened, we went to Patreon as kind of an emergency decision, and we made a promise then. Like, if you guys come over and support us on Patreon, we will sever all ties with the industry, and we'll be 100% viewer supported. So far, it's been working out for us, and so that's what makes us. Yeah. So we go out, if you look at our Instagram page today, we're out pointing out flaws in another SIG product. I don't have anything against SIG, but dang it, SIG, get your act together. But we can do that because we don't rely on SIGs giving us a paycheck and stuff like that. So swing by, check out Patreon, and that's primarily how you can support us.
Okay, cool. And by the way, I meant to ask you about the carbine chassis thing that Copper Custom has, but I totally forgot about that. Next time, do you have one?
It was out. They were out playing around with it. We have the actual production bodies coming in, I think this week or next week.
Okay.
One of the guys from Copper was out at the range shooting pictures of it and shooting video of it and playing with it.
Okay.
So it's not in the building at the moment. So, but I'll have it for our next live stream. I'll be able to show it to everybody.
All right, cool. Because I know there's some questions about that. I know it's hit some of the blogs and stuff like that. So people are looking forward to that. For everyone out there, if you want to support us, we're on YouTube. This is Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded. This is where we do the podcast. I've got the regular Hank Strange channel. We're putting up stuff there all the time. I'm also on Patreon. I haven't quite gotten to the level that Mac has. We've got kind of like a mixture of people that support us. Some people on Patreon. We've got some folks that sponsor the channel, and Lola Strange too. Some money comes out of Lola's paycheck to help keep this going. So, but listen, it's all good. I appreciate everyone doing that. We'll be back here tomorrow. I think we've got Harry's Holsters on the show, and then I'll figure out for Mac when's the next time we're getting him back on. But if you follow Mac, you'll be able to keep up with everything that's going on with him. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hank, for having me on, man.
Yeah. Oh, it was fun. Thanks
for hug for me.
Absolutely, will do. Stay right there. I'm gonna end it. Thanks a lot, everyone. Let me drop my end thing right here before I forget. Boom. There you go. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you thumbs up. Make sure you ring the bell so you can be notified the next time that we're on. And let's see. That's pretty much it. Peace out. See you guys. We're out of here.
Take care, guys.